It is ready. I'll just send the link. Excuse me, guys. They are just asking for a link. I'll just send it and come. Those sitting at the back, you can come front if you want. I've sent the link to ma'am. Just a second. They are asking for the link. I'll just send it in 2 minutes. Just a second. The YouTube live and I'm just making it public. Yeah. Ma'am, the video is unlisted. Ask them to make it public. Okay. You can share the link. Anyone with the link can see. But only if you make it public, everyone can see. Ask some Sudarshan sir or someone. Thank Okay. We will continue. Sorry for the interruption. So we are seeing developmental banking. So developmental banking means the banking sector should be functioning for the development of the country, and the loan should go to those areas which provides development. So that's why we nationalize the banks. So at that time, we are discussing about the banks as heart. So there were banking sector failure because most of the banks were private sector banks, and we were facing a lot of banking sectors failures. So if banks are failing, people will lose trust in the bank. Only if the people are having trust in the banks, they will deposit their money. If you are having some bank balance, we are going to bank for withdrawing, or you are doing a UPI payment. If your bank says no money, what will happen? Next time, will you have the trust in the bank? Next time, will you deposit money in the bank? No. So people will deposit money in the bank only if they are having trust in the banking sector. So since the banks were failing, people were losing trust. If people are losing trust, then no money will be coming in the savings. So when there is no savings, there is no investments by the banks. So this entire heart will stop functioning. So in order to increase the trust in the banking sector, what government did was nationalization was another thing through which we increase the trust. If so, I'll just ask a question. When you are given option to start a bank account, will you go to SBI or S Bank? SBI. Obviously, why? Because it is government bank, your money is safe. So people trust if the owner is government. So after nationalization, people started trusting banks and they started depositing their money, and that increased the trust in the banking sector. So that is another reason why we nationalized. So because of the nationalization in 1969, we nationalized some 14 banks. Again in 1980, we nationalized another 6 banks. So these nationalized banks strengthen the banking sector. Whatever these banking sector which are having today is because of the nationalization done in 1969. We brought in this developmental banking through which we provided subsidized loan under many schemes, and also we provided priority sector lending. We brought this thing called priority sector lending. We identified certain sectors as priority sectors, and we are asking banks to give loans only to them. 40% of the loan should go to the priority sector, like agriculture, MSMEs, or education, these kind of loans, renewable energy. So that is nationalization of bank, which is a very important moment in the Indian history. The next important moment in Indian history is LPG firm. Who are those two gentlemen? Don't say Manmohan Singh. Everyone knows him. The other one is Narasimha Rao. Yeah, obviously. So again, at that time, Prime Minister Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh was brought in as finance minister. He is a renowned economist who was working with many global institutions. He was brought in as an advisor to government. Later, he was made the RBI governor. Later, he was made a member in the planning commission. From planning commission, he was made as finance minister. Because we were in a situation at that point of time where finances were at the bad state. In the earlier time we discussed in 50s and 60s we needed socialism because there was no strong private sector. That's why government had to go towards the socialism. But the problem went with respect to Indian economy happened was that we continued the same form of socialism till 90s. So that is the problem here. For 50s and 60s, we had no other option. Going to the private socialism was a good option. But we should have opened our economy in 1970s. So that is the issue which we did. So instead of opening, we delayed this opening and that led to the problem of 1991 crisis. So in 1970s and 80s, if you see, the restrictions on the private sector and the restriction on the the rules, the strict regulations on the private sector, the license, the quotas, the permits, all imposed on the private sector was made stricter. It should have liberalized, but instead we made it stricter because of the suspicion on the private sector that if private sector grew, they'll start controlling the economy and they'll start controlling the government. So we never allowed the private sector to grow, but we should have opened up. China opened up in 1978 under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, but we delayed it. So that was the problem. Till 1980s, we had to spend a lot of money. So in 1980s, at one side, we borrowed a lot of international loans because of technology missions. Under Rajiv Gandhi's prime ministership, he introduced technology missions in India. A lot of computerization was happening. Technology mission in 7 sectors were introduced. So this caused a lot of expenditure for the government. So we had to borrow money. So our borrowings were increasing. Fiscal deficit was growing at one side. At another side, we had this Gulf crisis in 1990. Iraq invaded Kuwait, and that led to the Gulf War. Because of this, we would have seen Airlift, the movie by Akshay Kumar. Airlift movie is all about the Kuwait War of 1990. So we had this Gulf crisis that led to the shooting up of oil prices. Since India is an oil importing nation, we had to shell a lot of foreign exchange reserves to import these oils in 1990. So at one side, we borrowed a lot of international loans and we are paying back the principal and interest in dollars. So our dollars reserves are dwindling because of increasing fiscal deficit. On another side, our current account deficit was shooting up because we imported a costly oil. Since we imported costly oil, again dollars were shelled out. So the shelling of dollars and declining of the our dollar reserve led to the balance of payment crisis. We went to a situation where we were not having, we had dollars only for the next 17 days in 1991. That was the situation. So this is one thing. At another side, if you see, since India was keeping on borrowing and they were not giving back, paying back the loans, and fiscal deficit was widening. If fiscal deficit is widening without any control, then they will downgrade the country in credit ratings. So international financial credit rating agencies, they downgraded India. So no more loans were given to India. At another side, our close ally for the 40 years, that is USSR, was breaking. So since USSR was breaking, who used to help us during the crisis? Now USSR itself is in need of help. So at that time, we didn't also have this international friend USSR to help us. So obviously, we were in a situation to go to IMF. A similar situation which is faced with Sri Lanka now. Sri Lanka, they faced in 2021-22, 2 years. So we had to go to IMF, and we had a biggest political crisis because of the assassination of Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. So election was going on, and the Prime Minister to be, hopeful Prime Minister to be, was assassinated, and there was a political crisis also in 1991. At that time, Narasimha Rao took over as Prime Minister. At this point of situation, we needed an expert to handle the finance. So an expert in finance was made Finance Minister. Like what is happening now? Our foreign policy situation is so delicate now in this globalized world. We needed an expert. So that's why Mr. Jaishankar was made Foreign Affairs Minister. So whenever an expert is needed, then they will be made as the minister. So one president is Dr. Manmohan Singh, another recently we are seeing in the form of Dr. Jaishankar. So we brought this LPG reforms. We went to IMF. IMF said, only if you do reforms, if I give money, your economy will become good. No, only if you are doing reforms, it's going to be good. I'll give you money, but you also simultaneously initiate reforms. Only if you are initiating reforms, this money will be of any use. So initiate reforms, then I'll give. So we brought this liberalization, privatization, and globalization. We liberalized all the strict regulation and tight rules with respect to industrial licensing, with respect to quota and all those things. We privatized wherever possible. Earlier, private sectors were restricted only in few sectors. We opened up a lot of sectors for private. And then a lot of government, public sector enterprises also were privatized. So that was also happening. So this was the condition with respect to privatization. Globalization, we allowed foreign investments. We removed the quotas and restriction in exports and imports. We allowed foreign investments. We opened up a lot of sectors for FDI. So that is LPG reforms. That is a very important time of our Indian economic development. So this is the third image. The fourth image is about who's the person? Everyone knows. Dr. Raghuram Rajan, who was the RBI governor. So we were having a lot of RBI governors, but why I included Dr. Raghuram Rajan means Dr. Raghuram Rajan conducted a very important thing in 2014. So if you could see, our economy was going well. We did LPG reforms. We started getting a lot of investments. So because of all these investments from 2000, from 1991 to 2000, we started getting a lot of investments. We were becoming friends to the West. Till now, we were dependent on USSR. So West were not having good relationship with us. Now we are having good relationship with West. So a lot of investment is coming. So economy went into the boom phase after 2000. So from 2000 to 2008, we had the boom phase in Indian economy where GDP growth was high, more than 8 and 9, and it was consistently 8 and 9. So we had this boom phase. This boom phase was stopped by the global financial crisis. So in boom phase, what happens is there is this quote: all the bad loans are made in good times. So the bad loans are made in good times means whenever the economy is in boom, all the firms will think that the economy is in boom. Now let's get loan. Now let's invest. Now let's expand our business. So whenever economy is in boom, every business and every firm will try to get more loans. They will do a lot of investments to increase their business. So in this entire boom period, a lot of firms are taking loans, and these loans were not checked properly for their credit ratings. So once the economy went into this 2008 crisis, it took 2 years to see the impact in India. From 2011 onwards, all these businesses who got loans during this boom time, they started facing losses because of the global financial crisis and global recession. Their business dwindled. Their expectation for the expansion dwindled. So all these firms are facing losses. So they couldn't pay back the loans whichever they borrowed. So all the loans which are borrowed were becoming NPAs after 2011. From 2011 onwards, all these big loans bought by the infrastructure companies are becoming NPAs because of the genuine recession and financial losses. At another side, we also had the willful defaulters. That is a different story. So from 2011 to 2014, if you see, a lot of loans are becoming NPA. World economy is facing recession. Indian economy is facing slowdown, but still banks are having good balance sheets. So this led to the suspicion. How banks are having good balance sheet? So that led to the asset quality review, which was initiated by Raghuram Rajan. Asset quality review means he called all the banks to do the detailed scrutiny of their assets to whatever loans they gave to whoever. Assets means loans. So for the banking sector, assets are loans and liability is the deposits. We used to see this. So he asked all the banks to do the asset quality review. They have to scrutiny each and every asset, and they have to give a detailed report on how much money went to who is paying back, who is not paying back, why not paying back, how many NPAs are there, how many NPAs are there for how many years. So when all these things were analyzed, we realized that banks, even though knowing that many loans become NPAs, they were just keeping it as in their assets column instead of declaring it as losses. They just kept in their assets. Since all these NPAs were kept in the assets, that assets value was higher. So then we found all this are NPAs. So they asked them to remove this bad loans from the assets column and put it as losses, declare it as loss, and use the money capital provisioning. Capital adequacy ratio. We'll discuss about that. So this asset quality review was brought in 2014, and that led to this thing that we found that almost 4 lakh crore worth loan were NPAs. So this 4 lakh crore worth loan of NPAs were detected. And if we would have not done this asset quality review, we would have ended up into a banking crisis. So this timely asset quality review in 2014 led to this discovery that a lot of banks are having NPAs. So all these NPAs, now we are into a new crisis called NPA crisis. From 2014 onwards, because of this review, we brought in a lot of reforms to solve the NPA crisis. From 2014 to 2020, government would have launched, government and RBI together, they would have launched a lot of reforms to solve this NPA crisis. So that moment of doing asset quality review is a very important thing that led to the early identification of the banking crisis and to avert a great disaster. Now, these NPA levels are falling down. because of the steps taken from 2014 to 2019-20. Now the amount of NPS has fallen down. So that was initiated by Dr. Rajan. So that's why I've kept the image. And another important milestone in our economic development journey is introduction of GST. So Prime Minister and President of India, they launched the GST in a special midnight session, like the one we had during the independence in 1947. We had a midnight session at 12 o'clock where they launched this GST. So GST is considered to be a very important economic structural reform with respect to the indirect taxes. We had, even though India is considered to be a large nation with a large market with a huge demand, for a foreign investor or any person who's starting a business, India is not as a one single unit. Each and every state are imposing different sales tax, different VAT. So this entire nation is fragmented. So with respect to the indirect taxes, if anyone want to start a business, if they are selling a good in Tamil Nadu, that will cost a different rate. If they are selling it in Delhi, that will be in different rate. If they are selling in Bombay, that will be in a different rate. Because all the states are imposing different sales tax or VAT. So so this led to the fragmentation of nation. India is one only politically, but they are not one economically, because each and every states are imposing different taxes, and that led to the burdening of firms because they had to file returns in different states at different taxes. They have to sell the goods at different rates at different taxes. This was fragmentation of market. Another side, we had this cascading effect. At one side, central government is imposing excise duty. At another side, state government is imposing VAT. There were situations where we were imposing VAT on an excise, already imposed excise duty. We'll discuss about that during GST. So this cascading effect of imposing tax on tax on tax at each supply levels of supply chain without proper input tax credit mechanism, it bloated up the value of the goods. So in order to solve the issue of multiplicity of taxes, and in order to solve the issue of cascading effect, and in order to create the solve the issue of fragmentation of country, we brought in this GST, goods and services tax, in the idea of one nation, one tax, and one market. So India was unified on the taxes, because now if you go to any state, the same taxes, so the same prices. There is no more fragmentation. Through a strong input tax credit mechanism for all the goods and services, we were able to solve this cascading effect. By abolishing all the existing taxes and bringing under GST as one tax, we solved the multiplicity of taxes. So this GST is a very important step with respect to ease of doing business. So with respect to ease of doing business, if you see from 2014 to 2020, in 2020, of course, World Bank stopped releasing the ease of doing business report. Only till 2020 we had. If you see, our ease of doing business ranking would have improved substantially. In 2014, our ranking was at 142. But when World Bank stopped releasing the report in 2020, our rank was in 67. We improved from 142 to 67 in just 5 years because of various reforms initiated like GST or insolvency and bankruptcy code and many other things. We improved, we opened up FDIs, we brought a lot of investment facilitation mechanisms. So all these things helped, and GST is a very important thing. So this brief idea of what happened in the last 75 years, I've just picked my favorite 5 moments. Of course, all the these 5 moments are substantial, crucial moments. These are my favorites. There are many other moments and many other things, many other reforms which we'll discuss. But these are all the 5 important things. That's why I keep this in the first slide of my class. So now you would have got some idea. This is a teaser. Before going into a movie, you'll see teaser, right? In teaser, you won't get the story. You will just get to know the scenes. You will get to know the mood and mindset of the entire movie. So I just discussed all these things just to show you the mood and mindset and how these classes are going to be. So that's why this teaser, brief teaser. We'll discuss about everything in detail in the upcoming classes. So now what I'm going to say is, generally in UPSC syllabus, if you take, we'll be seeing important subjects. So like we are having 5 crucial subjects, that is history, geography, economy, polity, and environment. And we'll add current affairs as a 6th one. So these are all the 6 important areas which we'll be preparing for prelim. If you see, we are not having this word called economics in our syllabus. If you take the syllabus, both prelims and mains, we are not at all having this word called economics. So what is the word we are having then? We are having this word called economic development. So nowhere you can find this word economics. So then what is the subject? So economics is a large umbrella subject, which is a very big discipline. It consists of a lot of sub-schools and it's a very theoretical subject. But that is not there in our syllabus, because generally when people start thinking about economics, a lot of graphs will come, a lot of data will come. And everyone will think that it's a tough subject. Oh, everything is going to be tough. And most of you would have taken commerce in your 11th and 12th, and you would have read economics to a certain extent. But we are not going to study that. We are just having economic development. Economic development is just a small part of this large family called economics. In economics, under this big umbrella, economic development or developmental economics is just a small part of it. So only that developmental economics we are going to study. Whatever economics needed for the development of this country, how to develop this particular economy or how to develop this country, whatever economy you needed, economics concept you needed, that is called as developmental economics. So how we are going to provide development to the people, how we are going to provide welfare to the people, how we are going to develop India. So these are all the things which is there in developmental economics, only that is there in the syllabus. Now I said a story from starting from first 5-year plan from Nehru to GST. So in this entire story, you wouldn't have found any economics concepts. It's just the story and it's just the why it was brought, what happened. We were just talking about economy in general. We never saw anything theoretically here. So that's how this entire subject is going to be. Somewhere we'll see a few concepts, but apart from this entire subject is all about understanding economic development and whatever economic concept needed for developing country. That only we are going to study economic development.
And the straight
So
road.
you have to understand that we are going to study economic development and it's not going to be economy.
And the left right
economic.
side.
Then what is economy? The word economy is applying the concepts of economic development in a particular region or a particular scale. So we are going to apply this particular concepts for India. So we are going to study Indian economy. So that's why we use the word called economy rather than economics. So we are going to study economy, especially Indian economy, and to some extent world economy. So this is a subject which we are going to study now. Okay. So all those people, I could see a few first attempters. What about you both? We had an introduction session for everyone since you guys joined late. From which state and which attempt? Tamil Nadu. Third attempt. You, ma'am? Okay. All Tamil Nadu candidates because of, since you know kingmakers, so okay, familiarity. Fine. So are you comfortable from there seeing the board? Or you can also sit here or somewhere to get a good view of the session. Okay. So this is the, so what the subject which you are going to see is economic development because that is a word which is there in the syllabus. So what is this? This is prelim syllabus. But I don't call it syllabus. Syllabus means what a syllabus should do. It should say what and all topics you have to study. What and all topics you have to study from where the questions will come. If you are giving like this, what you will study? This is actually list of subjects which you have to study. This is not syllabus. This is list of subjects to study. So events of current events of national and international importance. So this is the very important part of the syllabus. Whatever event which is important to both at national level and international level, we have to study. So most of the cases we restrict a lot with respect to national level, but we have to open up and study international level. The same applies to economy. Whatever economic things happening at the international level, like for example, last year we had the layoffs because of the weakening of the stock markets in USA. We had huge global inflation because of the Ukraine crisis. We had the shooting up of wheat prices because of the Ukraine crisis. We had the shooting up of oil prices. And because of the global level inflation, even the Western countries like USA, Canada, or UK, they faced huge levels of inflation that led to their central banks to raise their interest rates. So if you could see last 2 years, you would have seen this question. Increase in the interest rate by Federal Reserve, what is the impact in India? You saw this, if you see PYQs of 2023 and 22, this area is being repeated. What is the impact if USA is increasing the interest rates? So that is event of international importance. When USA is increasing their interest rate, that is an event of international importance, which you have to study. And they are asking question, which of the following events will lead to depreciation of currency? So increase in the interest rate by USA or increase in the global prices, like that they will be giving options. So we have to follow these international things also with respect to economy. Then directly you can come to the economic part of the syllabus. We are having a very, very vaguely defined vaguely defined syllabus for preliminary. Of course, for mains, we are having a good definition. For preliminary, if you see, it's economic and social development, economic, social and sustainable development. So that is the exact word if you see. We are having economic, social and sustainable development. So that is what we are having in the syllabus. So economic development is at economic scale, we have to provide development. That is in the social scale. So what is development then? So improving the quality of life of people. Any other definitions? How can you define development? Upgrading. So development can be defined by, so what is development if you see is to improving the standard of living and quality of life of people, providing welfare to the people. So providing welfare, improving the quality of life or standard of living, and providing employment opportunities. Employment is a very important part of development, because only if you provide employment, they will have income. Only if you are having income, they will do consumption and create demand. They will create demand and do the consumption. Creating demand and doing consumption is essential for economic development. So when people will create demand and do consumption, only if they have money in their hands. When they will have money in their hands, only if they do work. Creating employment opportunities is essential form of development. So improving the standard of lives, create employment, alleviate poverty. That's it. That is the important thing of development. And we can also add providing security. Law and order and security is also important part of development. So providing welfare and development to the people at the economic levels by reducing the economic inequalities and economic barriers, and by removing the social inequalities and social barriers, and providing the development to all the sectors and all the sects of people, all the castes, all the religion, and all the genders. That is called a social development. Okay. Okay, Pooja. Someone has switched on their mics, I think. See, if some chat pops up, means you just tell me, okay? So sustainable development. So sustainable development is having two dimensions. One thing is your development should not be only for the present generation. The development should also be ensured for the future future generation. The development should be sustainable. It should continue. So that is what is sustainable development. Another dimension is through environmental protection. The development should not be at the cost of degrading environment. So it should be continuous. It should be ensured for the future generation. At the same time, you should not be destroying the environment to provide development. Because if we are polluting the air or polluting the water, then future generation have to suffer. Then alleviating poverty, and inclusion means inclusive development. So everything is very vague. These are all just the chapters which we have to study. Rather than me discussing these topics, we'll discuss everything in detail. So poverty means inability of the people even to get the basic necessities of life. We are going to study poverty. What is poverty? Types of poverty. What are all the causes of poverty? What are all the steps taken by the government to alleviate poverty? How to measure poverty? What is poverty line? All these things we will be discussing. What is inclusive growth? Inclusive growth means including all the sections in the part of the growth. Growth should not be for only one sector. Demographics is study of population. So we will be studying a few things about population, because population is also providing development in the form of demographic dividend. So demographic dividend is a phase of an economy where a certain section of population will provide huge returns to the economy. That is when the populations are youth. When we are having substantial youth population, then this youth population are going to work for the development of the country. Next, social sector initiative means schemes. What are all schemes brought by the government? So any government schemes. But it's very, very vaguely defined. With this, you cannot understand what to study for preliminary. If this is what is given to you, you cannot study what to study. Because under the word poverty, we can do PhD. Because that is such a topic. So then how to prepare for preliminary? This is the question coming. When the syllabus is such vaguely defined. When syllabus is such vaguely defined, the only tool which all these faculties who are teaching economy or any subject they are using is what? PYQs. So PYQ is the hack. So when you're taking the last 25 years PYQ and segregating them based on the topics, so you have to analyze the 25 years of PYQ. You have to segregate from which areas they have asked. If you are segregating the PYQs asked in the economy for the last 25 years, from which topics they have asked, then we find the topics to study. That's it. Here we are not here to become an economist. We are not here to become Raghuram Rajan or Ananda Nageshwaram to become an economist. We have come here to become IAS. We have to just clear this exam. So always keep in mind, don't try to be a specialist. do whatever it can to clear this exam. So always be focused on marks here. So in generally in college education, we have to focus on knowledge, but here we have to focus on marks because that is what is going to give us the service. So here we are only to study that part of economy which is needed to clear this exam. Okay. Then whatever is there in PYQs and whatever is there in the trends of the UPSC, only that thing we'll study. So that is how all the faculties or anyone is deciding their syllabus, or famous authors are writing the books. So if you could break down the questions asked in the PYQs, we will end up with these 13 topics roughly for preliminary. I'm just talking preliminary centric. First thing is basic introduction about few basic concepts related to economy. So that we'll see in the introduction part. Next, like in the introduction, we'll be seeing what are all the types of economies, what are all the sectors in economy, what are all the types of goods, what is demand, what is supply. These are all basics which you have to study when we are starting up economy. What is production, what is consumption, and all these things. What is cost, what is price, and everything we are going to see. Next is national income. That is GDP. So what is GDP, how it is measured, what is the importance of GDP, how we are using, why we are using GDP as a tool for measurement of development, and what are all the problems in that. That we'll be seeing in the national income. So GDP we are measuring at 3 methods, and now government after 2015 started measuring it fourth method, GVA method. Then we are having factor cost, market price, basic price, nominal GDP, real GDP, GDP deflator. All those things we'll discuss. The next part is inflation, the persistent rise in the price levels. So what is inflation, causes of inflation, effects of inflation, and how to measure inflation, what are all the indices to measure inflation, and how to control inflation. So these are all the dimensions which you are going to study in inflation. So if you could see PYQs, we are not having much questions from the sectors of economy or types of goods from introduction part or from national income in the last 6-7 years. But inflation is the favorite area of UPSC. Every year you will have 1 or 2 questions from inflation. If you say last 5 years, there are questions. I'll show you. So inflation is a very important part. Questions are coming on causes, either it is from causes or it is from impact or it is from measures taken to control. Only these 3 areas. Why inflation occurs, in that area they are asking, or what is the impact of inflation, that area they are asking, and what are all the measures to control it. So that is one thing for inflation. So we'll study all those 3 areas. Next, we are going to see monetary policy. Generally, people teach money and banking together. So when they start monetary policy, they also teach banking sector. But I have segregated them into 2. First, I'll teach the monetary policy part. Then later, we'll discuss about the banks and types of banks or static part in the banking part. In monetary policy, we are just going to focus on the tools utilized by RBI to regulate the money supply. So we are having inflation. How to control this inflation? So to control inflation, we are having 3 measures. One is monetary policy by RBI. Another is fiscal policy by government. And the third one is administrative measures by government. So we are going to study in monetary policy how RBI is controlling the credit and controlling the money supply, and how they are regulating the credit to control inflation and also to ensure developmental banking. So we'll study about monetary policy and how money supply is controlled. Next, we'll be seeing about fiscal policy, how government is handling their finances and how government is using the budget. What are all the components of budget? What are all the types of deficits? And what is fiscal consolidation? Those areas we'll discuss. Budget account and all those things. And how fiscal policy is also a tool to control the money supply. That part also we'll discuss. And the next part is taxation. So taxation is part of fiscal policy. In fiscal policy, it is part of receipts, revenue receipts. So in taxation, we'll see what is direct tax, what is indirect tax, what are all the types of taxation, and we'll be discussing about the reforms on direct tax and reforms in indirect tax. Indirect tax, we'll just going to study GST. In direct tax, we are having certain reforms under recommendation stage. And recently, in the last 5 years, government brought in a lot of reforms for direct taxes too. We'll study about all those things. Next, business cycle. Business cycle means overall how the macroeconomy is performing and how economy is moving from various stages, from boom to slowdown to recession to depression and again to recovery. So we'll be studying all the 6 stages of business cycle, how economy is moving through various stages. Next, we'll be studying about external sector, the linkage of Indian economy with the rest of the world. So what is the economic linkages of an economy with the rest of the world? How it is happening? Investments, foreign investments, trade, imports and exports, foreign investments, or international borrowings. So all these things are managed under balance of payments accounts. So what is balance of payments accounts and what are all its constituents? We'll understand everything. See, if you see all these things, I'll try to provide the conceptual clarity with simplified examples so that you can easily understand and remember it rather than not getting confused. Okay, or to mug up. So economy, most of the aspirants, what I see is they are starting to mug it up. So when you are mugging up economy, what is happening means if they are just tweaking certain words or jargons, UPSC is capable of this. They will change the word. Instead of using the word creditor, we'll study inflation is affecting the creditor. It is benefiting the debtor. But UPSC will ask inflation, what is the impact of inflation on bondholders? Okay. So bondholders are those people who are creditors. So instead of using the word creditor, they'll use the word bondholder. So these kind of words, when words are changing, people will be confused. So that's why understand the concept, you will be clear. Next is external sector will study about balance of payments account and will study about the exchange rates, appreciation, depreciation, and all those stories. And next we will study about banking sector. In banking sector, what are all the types of banks and what are all the important reforms brought in the banking sector. And we'll study the capital market and money market, few concepts related to that. Then we'll discuss some parts of agriculture and subsidies. Then poverty and unemployment. I've kept planning at the last. Our planning is not an area which needs some teaching. It's self-explanatory. If you just take and study, it's totally factual. All the 12 5-year plans, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And rarely UPSC asks questions. If you take in last 10 years, there are only 2 questions from planning. They would have asked one in 2019, I think. And before that, there would have been a question in 2013. Not much question comes from planning. Of course, from Niti Aayog, they are asking questions, but most of the questions from Niti Aayog are based on their initiatives. Or that is there in current affairs. So that's why planning is not prioritized. Area to study now, and planning has become history now. So these are all the 13 areas which are prelim centric. So I'm not going into the mains topics now. We'll just focus on the prelim centric topics now. When we are doing the economic survey, then we'll touch up certain mains areas. And of course, actually, if you could say we cannot separate prelims and mains. In most of the cases, it is integrated. So many mains concepts we'll be seeing, which is also relevant in preliminary. Many prelims also might be reflecting in mains, so we cannot separate it. But I'll try to focus on simplifying the things in the 2 weeks. For this 2 weeks, in 50 hours, whatever concepts are possible, I'll try to deliver, and I'll try to give the conceptual clarity. Once the sessions are over, you can sit with me and you can ask any doubts or any other doubts. Not only with economy, you can also discuss about the entire preparation. Because I started off my preparation along with our Prime Minister of India in 2014. So it's been my 10th year too. So for the last 10 years, I'm in this field. So I've given 6 mains, 4 civil services and 2 forest services. So this is my brief background. So we can not only discuss economy, we can also discuss a lot of stuffs related to preparation itself. I can also discuss polity, history, and geography. Because I'm geography optional, you can also discuss about geography to me. So we'll discuss about things. Any geography optionals here? I know we are critically endangered. Geography optional is the one go-to optional in 2014-15. Almost half of the crowd goes to that. But now, from 2015 to 19, they made it a bit difficult. The questions were not directly from the textbook. They started asking the next level questions. So a lot of people defected from geography to anthropology or sociology or political science. How many political science? 2 political science. Sociology? 3 sociology. Then anthropology? 4 anthropologies. Appo ningala, what's history? Agriculture. Agree. Max. Where you attended Max? Okay. Ninga? History. Ninga? Law. Okay. Fine. Ninga? Andro. Okay, fine. So this is the situation. So no geography optional. Okay, fine. I know. Back in Chennai, many people shifted. But I am a last man standing in Chennai. But still, okay, we'll continue. So these are all the topics which you are going to see. So before going into the session, so today we started off at 10:30 because this is the day 1. But from tomorrow onwards, we'll have this plan. Like I had this plan so that we can complete the class in the morning half, so that the rest of the half you can go home and sit and study. We are having 4-hour session. So if you are starting at 9, from 9 to 11, we'll go 2 hours. Then we'll have an half an hour break. Then 11:30 to 1:30 we'll wind up. Is it okay for everyone? this space. So if so we can finish it by 1:30 means maximum you can go home by 2 or 2:30 and after lunch and you can continue the rest of the day. If you are starting at 10 or 10:30, then it will go till 3 or 3:30 and it will take up a lot of time. In between, you have to go for lunch. If you are coming early, it will be very good. So for logistically for everyone, is it okay? Tomorrow I'll start at 8. Like I decided to start at earlier. I thought of starting at 8 o'clock. Then they said that's possible only in Chennai. Here it's winter. We don't know what is winter in Chennai. We know only extreme humidity or extreme rainfall. Now we are having the cyclone. Cyclone is almost bordering Chennai, and I am here. Everyone are in a panic there in Chennai because cyclone is almost between Tamil Nadu Andhra border. So from Nellore to Chennai, they are facing intermittent rain. And I saw a video. A crocodile was walking in the streets of Chennai because of the rains. So okay, we'll start at 9. 9 okay for all. So tomorrow we'll start the session at 9. We'll end up by 1:30. So 1:30 will end up. Those who want to sit and interact with me, you stay back. Others you can leave and continue the day. So okay. So for next 2 weeks we will continue. So maximum number of people you try to continue the sessions. Okay. So we'll start. So we started off roughly at 10:15. Now it's almost 11:15. I'll just discuss the sources and then we'll go for a short break or something. Sources, and we'll discuss something about strategy for a while and then we'll go. Okay. So for sources, I have see this list is different thing. So the first thing you have to start off with the NCRTs. So NCRTs, see, if you see in recent times in YouTube, a lot of people are also telling that I didn't study NCRT, but still I got service. So you might find a certain toppers who might say that they didn't study NCRT, but that doesn't mean that we have to not study NCRT. A few will say I didn't see newspaper at all, but still I got service. Yes, but of 1,000 people who are getting service, 5 people or 10 people will say that. But what about the rest of the 990? You would have seen the videos of those 10 people. And you would have decided no need to study NCRT, no need to study current affairs. But what about the rest of the 990? They are studying NCRTs, they are studying newspapers, and that's how it goes. So don't miss out NCRTs. They are the beautifully written, simple books which will give you conceptual clarity. And many a times questions are directly reflecting from NCRTs. So always go for the NCRTs. For NCRT, like generally I prefer 11th and 12th NCRT, but when you're on basic conceptual clarity, you can start from 9th and 10th. So 9th, we are having economics, and 10th, we are having understanding economic development. Those are very simple books. I bet you can complete it in 2 to 3 days. If you are just sitting and stretch for 2 to 3 days, you can complete 9th and 10th. So whenever you are studying NCRT for 6 to 10, don't spend more than a week for it. For 6th standard, 7th standard, 8th standard, you can just finish it in 2 days. All the 3 books, because those are written for school kids. We are graduates. So we have to finish it in 2 days. So 9th and 10th is your discretion. Whatever is there in 9th and 10th will be repeated in 11th and 12th. But still, a few things you'll see, find it interesting. So I always advise the people to study NCRT. So study NCRTs. Wait. Now we'll come. I have a twist here. For the 11th NCRT, if you come, Indian Economic Development is the best book. I suggest every one of you to read Indian Economic Development, irrespective of anything. Indian Economic Development, 11th standard NCRT is a must-read book. No excuses or no replacement for that book, because in such a crisp way, in a beautiful way, they would have explained whatever I started off, like from planning to GST, I said, but that book stops in 2004, I think. So that book talks about 50 years history. So whatever I said, you will get to know what British did, why planning came, why LPG reforms came, and all those things. So that is a very beautiful book. Study Indian Economic Development. For 12th standard, the suggested NCRT is Introductory Macroeconomics. But that Introductory Macroeconomics is the most confusing NCRT ever written by NCRT. Of all NCRT books, if you ask me which is the most confusing book, that is Introductory Macroeconomics, because everything is confusing there. How many of you read that Introductory Macroeconomics? Did you feel the same when you're reading? Okay. You will not understand. That's what I'm telling. But everyone are still studying. So that's why in Tamil Nadu, we don't study Introductory Macroeconomics. We study TNSCRT, 12th book. Already Tamil Nadu's history books are famous here, I think. Tamil Nadu government's state boards, history books, ancient, medieval and modern, the newer editions, they are very good. But I don't know why they are not talking about few other Tamil Nadu books which are better than NCRTs. Like for example, like how Tamil Nadu book was for history is good. Tamil Nadu book for economy is way better than introductory macroeconomics, because I have read it. I've read macroeconomics. I've read Tamil Nadu books for all the subjects. All the NCRTs I read, all the Tamil Nadu books I've read in the last 10 years. So I can say. So I would suggest you all to have a look at this. It is there in PDF. If you want, take it printout or read it in PDF. Most of the concepts will be explained in a lucid way, in a simplified way, and you will get to know prelims kind of stuffs easily. And for mains point of view, they would have given subheadings. So this Tamil Nadu books, if you see the preface of the book, why Tamil Nadu book is preferred means, in the preface itself, they would have mentioned that this book is designed for civil services aspirants. So it's school books, but they would have, when they are designing, this book's released only in 2019. 2019 is a new edition. In 2019, when the book drafting committee sat, they added this thing. This book is designed in such a way that it is also benefiting the IAS UPSC aspirants. This will be there in the preface itself. So if you see social political science book of Tamil Nadu, you will have our entire GS2 syllabus there. India and its neighborhood, bilateral relation, multilateral relation, diaspora, important international institution. Whatever syllabus topics is given, those things will be covered entirely. So they have designed the book in such a way, all the Tamil Nadu books. But now I cannot say, come and say, but back in Tamil Nadu, we follow 12th standard book. So this is a suggestion from my side, you can see. Most of you are here, you will know all this. You would have studied. If you are writing Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, you would have seen it, but that is my go-to book. Next, standard books. So I'll share my notes. If you are attending the entire session, I'll be sharing notes for all the topics. After studying NCRT and 12th standard book, which of your choice, you see, read my notes. Apart from my classes, you will understand. You will sit in my class. You will take running notes. I'll share the notes in the PDF, which you can study. So I suggest you go that as the third source. But if you are already studying any standard source, like most of you would have already attended, you would have been a standard source, then stay with this. How many of you are following other standard sources? How many Ramesh Singh here? Ramesh Singh. How many Vivek Singh? Okay. How many Sanjeev Verma? Where is it? Huh? Oh, all Shankar Ganesha. How many Shankar Ganesh? Okay, Shankar Ganesh. He is a retired IRS officer. He is considered to be the savior of UPSC aspirants. That's what I mentioned. So, okay, like what else? Like apart from Shankar Ganesh, do you guys see any other book? Sriram Notes. Okay, then Runal. Yellow book. Okay, fine, good. So any standard book, whichever you are following, you can follow, and you can also see my notes, whichever is suitable for you. Don't have any changes there. You follow the same standard book, whichever you are following. The one basic philosophy which you have to understand with UPSC is restrict the notes and repeat the notes maximum times. So keep it simple. Choose one book and be fully confident and thorough with that one book. That's it. That's the philosophy. One thing which I find with most of the aspirants is that when they are starting preparation, they would have studied one book diligently, and they would have had a set of books which they would have studied. Then they would have gone to the prelims. Prelims would have been cleared. They would have got less marks. After seeing the less marks, what they do is, okay, this book is problem, so I'll change the new book. So they'll go to some other book or some other notes. I just walked around OR and I could see lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of printouts. So you'll buy some other notes and you'll follow that. My friend is following that. My another friend suggested that. For second attempt, they'll follow that. For third attempt, again, they'll change. You have to understand one thing. You should not change your notes. You have to change yourself. So the problem is not there in notes, because every note talks about same economy. The problem is most of the cases, you will understand whatever is given in the book. You will not clear the exam because you couldn't apply the concepts in examination hall. Understanding the concept is different. Applying that in question is different. So most of us couldn't clear preliminary not because of our understanding issue. It is because of inability to apply in the exam. So if we are not clearing because of inability to apply in exam, then why we have to change our notes? So always remember, restrict your notes, keep minimal notes and restrict it. So any standard books or key concepts by Shankar Ganesh, you can follow. I have made my notes by incorporating all the, I didn't write my own book. I'm not an author. I just compiled the notes. I didn't write my own notes. I'm not an economist. I just compiled my notes. I compiled my notes by comparing 12th standard book, Shankar Ganesh, or any market available notes and a lot of internet. From everywhere, I just copy pasted and I compiled and I curated my notes. which consists of the elements of all the market available things. So that's how I made my notes. So you can refer that. Next is current affairs. Current affairs is very important thing. So in every year, if you see economy, there will be 15 to 20 questions. Let's take 15 questions. So that's being the trend in the last 5 years. Of this 15 questions, minimum 5 questions will be from current affairs. Every time it is 10 questions is from direct static area or with certain changes, and the rest of the 5 questions they are taking from current affairs. So current affairs is a very important thing. If you see in 2000, before 2018, there will be 50-50. Half of the question from current affairs, half of the question from static. But of late, recently, UPSC is shifting more towards the static portion rather than focusing on in-depth in current affairs. So if you see, then I'll come back to that. So we have to study current affairs there. So because 5 questions are coming. So best source for current affairs is newspaper is the first source. Have the habit of reading any one newspaper. How many of you read Hindu here? Express? Okay, fine. So any Hindu or Express, both are reputed newspapers. Express is a reputed newspaper for North India. Hindu is a reputed newspaper of South India. Of course, both are national daily, circulated, preferred throughout UPSC aspirants. Now Express is doing a lot of things for UPSC aspirants. They have started Express Explained. They have brought UPSC. I know that day I saw. There is this UPSC answer writing column in the Express website. Have you checked that? There is this column called UPSC column in Express website. When I click that, they are putting daily answer writing. Daily questions they are putting. At the end of the day, they are putting explanation answer also. I think so. Express is planning to start an institute, Express IAS Academy. Sure, they will start because they are trying to catch this UPSC market in whatever. But Explained is good. Most of the articles in the Express Explained is very good. I read Hindu editorials and Express Explained. This is my combination. Daily I'll read Hindu editorials and I'll have a look at Express Explained. So covering both the worlds. That's how I go because I run this weekly editorial initiative. For that I have to study. So this is how I go. You choose any one monthly magazine of any of your favorite institute. Again, I don't need to say there are thousands of institutes here. You choose any one and read economics from one. That's enough. Don't go for multiple current affairs sources. This is another important lesson. If you are following one institute's monthly magazine, follow that for all the 12 months. Read this 2 or 3 times instead of reading multiple things. So what I find in the recent times is because of the availability, when supply is huge, people are exposed to a lot. They are getting confused. When you are having multiple options, you will be confused to choose which is the better. So you choose whichever is convenient for you. The thing is, see, this is heavy competition. If one institute's magazine is having a topic which another institute we are not having means, they will check it. They will update it next month. So if you are following any one institute's current affairs magazine, that is suffice and be restricted to that. Okay, you follow your favorite. And lastly, we have to see economic survey and budget. Just don't sit and study the entire economic survey when you are in first or second attempt. It is not advisable to sit and study. After, if you are in third or fourth attempt, you would have studied everything, you will be bored. So at that time, you can read the entire economic survey. Some 700 pages it is there. But when you are in first attempt or second attempt, don't spend time in reading economic survey or summaries or reports, ARC recommendations. See, in first or second attempt, just read the gist. That's enough. Maybe when you're having time, you have to read. In first or second attempt, our focus is to study NCERT. You can use that time to study NCERT for another time. Okay, focus on fundamentals. When I interacted, see, I have cleared multiple prelims. I have interacted with many people who have cleared prelims and many people who even got IFOS cutoff. Even in few instances, I have cleared 2 times I wrote IFOS. So after interacting with all these people who are consistently clearing prelims and getting into the IFOS also, because people clearing IFOS are getting huge marks. So I asked prelim strategy from them, what you are following. So one thing which was common among all is that they are strong in the subjects, not in the current affairs. Okay, they are strong in the subjects. Subjects means the 5 core areas: history, geography, economy, polity, environment. Of these 5, any 4 they are strong. So they are strong in any of the 4 of this 5 and they are adding up with the current affairs. That's it. So in recent times, because of this market over availability of the current affairs notes, people are focusing a lot of their time reading current affairs and missing out on the static core essential part. The only strategy to clear preliminary is number 1, Be strong in 5 core areas: history, geography, economy, polity, environment. Or choose any 4 and become strong there. Become strong means attending maximum questions from there. Then add it up with the current affairs, 12 months current affairs. That is more than enough. Second strategy is there. That is luck. So that will come only if you are lucky and if your God is blessing you. But first strategy is suitable. Second strategy is not in our hands. That God should decide, not us. Or whatever thing you are believing, that should decide. Or if you are believing in mathematics, probability should decide. But the first strategy is in your hand. Okay. So try to focus on these four subjects and get the conceptual clarity and understanding. And if you are strong there, you will clear prelims. So that is the strategy, nothing else. Okay. Study NCERTs, study standard books, and understand everything, and open up your mind. That's it. Try to understand it and trust your notes. One important strategy for this preparation is you have to trust your strategy. You have to trust your notes. You have to trust in whatever you are doing. If you are always in self-doubt, if you are always in self-doubt about I am reading this notes, whether this will come or not, my friend is reading that, whether that will come. If you are comparing and if you are not having trust, then you will not have trust on you. If you see, this prelims preparation is all about self-confidence. Okay. See what happened to India in World Cup. They got, it's like us, we'll get good marks in test series. All the institute test series, mock tests will be toppers, but will fail in prelims. So the same thing happened to India. They topped in all the league stages, in finals they lost. So on that day, how your mindset is there, that is going to decide your success in prelims, and not what you have studied, how many hours you have studied, how many months you have studied. Everything will be decided only by your mindset in that 2 hours, and in what mindset you are entering that exam hall. At 9:30, how your mind is. From 9:30 to 11:30, what you are doing, only that is going to decide. So at that time, even though you would have studied the best levels, if you are nervous and if you are not confident, without confidence, you cannot guess. If you see, I'm going off the economy, right? In general, I'm talking about prelims, which is also needed. So if you see in 100 questions, not everyone will know more than 35 questions. Okay. Rest of the 40 questions, we are going to guess. We are going to guess and put. So while guessing, we are going to use our logic and common sense and inherent knowledge, whichever we gained in the last 1 year or 2 years, by studying all those things. With that, we are going to use our logic and common sense, and we are going to arrive. After this introduction of pairs type question, last year we had almost 46 questions, 1 pair only, 2 pair only, 3 pair only. No other go, we have to guess because we can't eliminate. So if guessing is what is going to give us success, means when you will guess more, you will guess good only if you are having good confidence. Only if you trust in you will go with that. So when a batsman will come out of the crease and hit a 6, coming front foot and coming out of the crease and hitting a 6 will happen only if that batsman is confident that I know that ball will pitch there and I'll hit 6. If that batsman is afraid, he will be always staying in the crease. So you can guess only if you are confident. You will be confident only if you trust on what you study, in which notes you are studying, in your preparation. So start trusting your preparation and be confident in whatever you do. So that confidence is what will improve your guessing ability. Okay. So whatever notes or whatever sources you follow, but trust that. Restrict it and study only that. Okay. Don't compare. So this is the PYQ trends. So if you see, there is no national income at all. I've just listed the last 5 years. There is no national income, unfortunately. Most favorite area of UPSC is these 5 areas. Of course, last year we had a few questions from capital market. If you see from this thing, UPSC with respect to Indian economy, they are asking questions from these 5 areas. Monetary policy, what are all these steps, and quantitative and qualitative tools of RBI. Banking. Banking means types of banks. Whatever initiatives brought by RBI for banking sector, or types of banks and their features and their characteristics, or cooperative bank. Of late, they are asking many questions from cooperative banks in the last 3 years. So banking is the second. Next, we are having external sector. If you see, all these 5 areas are having questions in all the 5 years. So latest trend is this external sector. External sector means BOP account, and you have to see about the foreign exchanges. Foreign exchanges, how it is appreciating or depreciating. Next, fiscal policy budgeting, and finally inflation. So study these 5 areas. These 5 areas are the crucial part. And then we are having capital market, agriculture, industry, poverty, unemployment. Unfortunately, poverty, unemployment is also facing a blanker. Last question we had in poverty was in 2019. They asked about poverty line and why it is varying among the different states. That was the question in 2019, I think. After that, we are not at all having a question. That is the trend with respect to poverty. Microeconomics. So if you think about microeconomics, most of the aspirants think that macroeconomics is the part of the syllabus. Yes, developmental economics is macroeconomics. So we study that. But of late, UPSC is also asking one or two questions from microeconomics. If you see microeconomics, one. So microeconomics means here we are talking about types of goods or demand and supply, those kind of things. So what I decided was we'll have a 1 hour session for those concepts which is important in microeconomics. What is demand and supply? What are all the types of goods? What are all the basics to remember? Okay. And one best area to study microeconomics, if you are having time, you have to study microeconomics is, I found that Tamil Nadu's 11th standard books first chapter, Tamil Nadu T and SCRT books, 11th standard books first chapter has basic macroeconomics book. That was good. Introductory microeconomics is the NCRT of NCRT book, but that I felt it very confusing. Both introductory microeconomics and introductory macroeconomics are the most confusing books. So that's why I am suggesting Tamil Nadu 11th standard book, and first chapter is the best area to study microeconomics. Okay, so you can study that, but I'll spend time and I'll just discuss few concepts which is relevant to us. So planning, again in 2019 we had a question and then we are not having anything. Miscellaneous means which we cannot include, like some topics from trends and some topic from exports and imports and some current affairs things. Those are all the miscellaneous things. And if you see in last 3 years, they are having this trend of asking from company, like what is the coming under the capital account of a company? Which of the following is asset of a company? Like last year we had, which of the following is the intangible assets of a company, if you remember. So from company's accounting point of view, they are asking question in last 3 years. So what is a company's accounts and what are all the basics regarding that? So all the 3 questions you would have guessed with whatever you know. At that level only it can, you don't need to go and study company economics. But something basics with respect to that, we have to have an idea. So that is one thing, but all the 3 years it was guessable. But what I suggest is focus on these 5 areas, priority areas, and add capital market. Last year we had 3 questions from capital market. So that in 2022, if you see, external sector had 5 questions. Again in 2020, they had 5 questions. So 2024, 5 questions. This is just so I'm just telling. So 5-2, 5-2, 5-2. That is the thing I'm telling. So this is not happen. I'm just joking. So like this also many people are putting videos. So that's why I'm telling. They are telling. There was this one trend. If you read KitKat, buy KitKat and read the areas, they are asking questions from there. So many people started going behind the KitKats. So like things, there is a like recently I read this. What is UPSC options based questions? So in PYQs, you are seeing one correct option, but there are 3 wrong options. Study the concepts relating the 3 wrong options because next year's questions are coming from the options of PYQs. So this is the current trend which is going. So whenever you are studying PYQs, prepare for all the 4 options because of the last 5 or 10 years, because questions are coming and repeating. That to certain extent is happening with respect to history, especially it is happening. So that is a good idea for history, of course. So this is the PYQ trend. So one basic advice from my side with respect to PYQ in general. In general, everyone buy the 25 years book. That is mandatory. What book you are having? 25 years. Disha book with Mrunal sir's image like this. That book you are having. Okay, fine. Aryan, Disha or Wizard, all these books. Okay, fine. So have that book. Any book, whichever you are having, you have it. Apart from that, that is for subject-wise segregation of 25 years that you will read whenever you are studying the subject. But my personal advice to every one of you is to do your own analysis for 5 years at least. That 25 years analysis done by someone and they have compiled it and given, that is for reading from 1995 to 2023. But I suggest you all to take last 5 years paper or 6 or 7, it's up to yours. But do at least 5 years. Take 5 years paper, read entire 100 questions, you segregate it. You segregate it subject wise. You put polity and which topic they are asking, what type you are asking. You do your work in your own book. and you do this analysis, you will learn a lot of things. You will find a lot of things. You will find a lot of treasures. So PYQ analysis is best if it is done individually. So that is what I suggest. You do the last 5 years analysis by yourself. See, if you see, these numbers will vary from institute to institute, faculty to faculty, from books to books. This is my book. This is my numbers. After my analysis, I gave these numbers. You put your own numbers. You will find a lot of trends. You will see 2023 economy and 2022 economy, 2021 economy. You can find some pattern. The same thing applies to polity, history, or geography. For all the subjects, for PYQ, I suggest this. You do your own analysis. That is the best. And with respect to economy PYQ, one important rider is that when you are seeing 25 years, like for example in 1995 and all, there will be a lot of current affairs of that particular year, which you have to ignore. Many things which was there in 1995 or 2003 or 2008 might not be relevant in the current times, might be opposite to whatever is there now. Because in 2013, I had this interesting experience. In 2013, there is a question. The national income of country is net national product at factor cost. That was the answer given. But when I'm teaching in class, I'm saying it is market price. That student is arguing, sir, UPSC key itself is telling factor cost. Why are you telling market price? That is 2013 question. Back then it was factor cost. Now it is market price. So these kind of confusions will come because a lot of things changed from 1990s to 2000. Don't get confused by reading these PYQs. Have your conceptual clarity. Sometimes it might be opposite to whatever you believe. You just think that is the current affairs of that, because economy is dynamic and it will change every month, every quarter. So don't get confused. And there is a lot of economic survey based, trend based questions in 90s and early 2000s. UPSC had this trend based things till early 2000s, and they again repeated that in 2015, 16, 17, 18. In these 4 years they repeated, but this thing is increasing steadily in the last 5 years. Balance of payment is decreasing steadily in last 5 years. GDP is increasing steadily in last, these kind of questions. So those kind of trend questions will confuse you. So don't get trapped there. Just ignore them. Just find the basics questions. Okay. Whenever we are studying PYQs of 20 years back, we have to remember that that might be relevant to that year's current affairs, and we should not be getting confused. Okay. So this is the basic introduction of the session 1. So whatever I wanted to discuss in the basic introduction part with respect to strategy, I said. So what is the strategy for economy? Number 1, attend classes. Whichever class you are following, or if you are going to continue this class and this is going to be your class, attend full classes. Anywhere if you are going to class, do the full course. And attending classes is the first thing. Second thing is to study NCERT. Okay, you have to study NCERT for all the subjects, including economy. Third thing is to study the class notes and one standard notes. So this is the 3 important things we have to do. After doing all this, then take PYQs. So once you are attending the class, after you can start doing this PYQ once you started finishing the classes itself. So after attending classes itself, you can start seeing PYQs. Before classes, if you see PYQ, you won't understand anything, obviously. After attending classes, start working on PYQs. So do the analysis. And if you are having any doubts, come to the faculty and ask doubts. I am here. If I'm here, if you are asking anything, I'll answer. If I'm not here, you can ping me in Telegram. I will respond. In Telegram, I'm having the open account. If you just type Adil Baig, I'll be available. You can ping me there. I'll respond to that. So ask doubts and do the things. Once you have done with the entire subjects, then you again see PYQs. After attending class, once you have to see PYQ. Then finishing the entire subject, again you have to see PYQs. Then I said you to do the trend analysis. After all these things, you are going to do the test series of any institutes, whichever you are following. Here we are going to provide 3 question papers now, 300 questions from whatever we discussed. So basically to start with, then we'll add with the economic survey later. So this 300 questions, and you know your market here in Delhi is having a lot of things. So if I count, there are only 2 Xerox shops in Chennai, Anna Nagar. So Chennai's ORN is Anna Nagar. So in Anna Nagar in Chennai, we have all the institutes. I was just thinking yesterday, we are just having 2 Xerox shops there, which will sell all these notes. When I saw this here, I was like, what is this? It's like T Nagar. So only Tamil people know what is T Nagar. So it's like T Nagar of civil services preparation, like some this thing. So many Xerox shops and so many everywhere they are selling questions. Buy any question paper and solve. But institute question, this is the order which is you have to go. After doing all these things, when you see institute questions, then it will be comfortable to you there, and then work on that. So this thing should happen for all the 4 subjects or 5 subjects. Okay, not only for one subject. If you're doing it for all the 5 subjects, and that is the preparation. So if you want time, you have to steal time and you have to do. So that is the effort which you have to put. So there we have to put our real effort. So this is the brief idea. So now we'll go for a break. So if you are going for the break, we'll have half an hour break. 12:30 to 2:30, it's okay. Now it's 12. If I give half an hour break, we'll meet back around 12:30 to 2:30 or 1 to 3. Which one you want? 12:30 to 2:30. That's fine for all. Half an hour is enough. Okay. So go, if anyone wants to have lunch and come. We'll meet at 12:30. Tomorrow we are planning to do start at 9. So it will be 9 to 11, 11:30 to 1:30. After 1:30, it's wind up. You can interact with me and go whenever you want. You are having the rest of the day to study. Okay. So tomorrow, come back at 9 o'clock. This session. 9 is okay, right? Yeah, everyone is okay. Are happy. So that is what is convenient for every one of us, including us and including you. You will be having the rest of the day. The next thing is we have started a Telegram group for this module alone, where I will be posting the notes. So once the classes are over, I will be posting the PDF. If you want, you can study in PDF or take printout. It's your convenience. And that thing I'll be posting in the group. So I request you all to join the Telegram group for this economic module. And ma'am will be having the details. When you're going out, ask ma'am and she will be telling us. So everyone do join the group. Okay. So any other questions now? So we'll go for the break. We'll meet you all at 12:30. And we are going to start with the types, sectors and of economy and types of goods and all those things. Okay. Basics of economy. Your name? You are new. Shayan. You are from? Patna. How many attempts? First attempt. Great. Have the break and come back. We'll start economy. Okay. How many of you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Online people will have break for hi online people. We'll have break for the next half an hour and we'll continue the class at 12:30. If you're having any doubts, you can post me in the comment section or the for those who are seeing in YouTube, post in the live chat. Only the first 2 sessions are available in YouTube, not all the sessions. Today's session, the next second part of the session is available in YouTube. Yes, I will do it. Second part of the session will be available in YouTube. From tomorrow onwards, it will be going to be only exclusively for those who are enrolled. Yeah. So if you're having any doubts, you can post in the chats. Slow. One நிமிஷம் it's slow ஆயிடுச்சு. மெசேஜ் பண்ணுறோம். ஒரு நிமிஷம் இருங்க. இதெல்லாம் க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிட்டா தான் அது வரும். மீட்டிங் அப்படியே இருக்கட்டும். பண்ணிடுறேன். இருங்க இங்க இருக்கு. ஸ்லோ இருங்க இங்க இருக்கு. பாஸ் பண்ணு. இல்ல இருக்கு. மியூட் பண்ணுங்க. Okay, we'll start the session. Good afternoon again. So, in morning we just saw a few strategies and how to start with the subject. And I got a suggestion that to add PYQs wherever possible, whenever we complete a topic. So, from mostly in introduction and in introduction and in national income, we didn't have a lot of PYQs. So, when inflation and monetary policy comes, I'll incorporate all the PYQs and banking. So, and we'll discuss the PYQs whenever we discuss the topics. Okay. But what I do is when I teach itself, I identify the areas from where the questions came so that it's easy for you. So now let's start with the basics. So what is economic and what are all the basics of it? So what is economics? What is the basic definition? Whenever you start a class, you have to ask. You have to ask this definition, then students will say something, then only you have to start. So with that only. So we have a new member there. Introduce yourself. We didn't ask your introduction. Yeah. Shweta, from which state and which attempt? Bihar, Patna. First attempt. You both are friends. So she also said from Bihar. So, okay, fine. So this is your first attempt. Okay, fine. So we'll start the session. So economics can be defined as what is your basic idea about definition? Exchange of market. Exchange of market. Okay. Welfare and resources for? Okay, somewhere near. So economies, there are many definitions from economics. So many economists gave a lot of definition, but one good definition for economics is utilization of scarce resources for production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. So we are producing goods and services, we are distributing it, and we are consuming it. So we are classifying economic activities into production, distribution, and consumption. So how we are producing it? By utilizing the scarce resources. So economy is not having unlimited resources. Resources are scarce. So how we are going to make use of the available scarce resources for the production, distribution, and consumption. So that is called as economics. So the basic definition for the economics is production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services by utilizing the scarce resources. Okay. So resources are scarce, but the wants of the human beings are so high. So that's what you will read in the theoretical things. Human being is having a lot of wants, but the resources are scarce. So how we are going to efficiently use the scarce resources in order to produce the goods and services. So you are going to produce goods and services, you are distributed to the people, and the people will be consuming it, and firms will be consuming it. So study of all these things is economics. The utilization of scarce resources for the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services is called as economics. So this is the most basic definition. So economics is all about study of production and consumption. So in economy, the thing is we are using the basic factors of production called land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So these four are considered to be the basic factors of production. So for any production process to happen in economics, you have to use all these four, then only you can produce. So what we are producing? We can produce only goods or services. Any of these two only can be produced. So a firm is utilizing the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, and in turn they are producing the goods and services. So this is called as production process. For production process to happen, you need the supply of land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. For the land, labor, and capital, entrepreneurship, in return, what firm pays? For the land, they have to pay rent. For labors, they have to pay wages. For capital, they have to pay interest. For entrepreneurship, they have to pay profits. So entrepreneur takes the profit. So for the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, they pay back rent, wage, and interest and profit. By utilizing the four factors of production, this firm is going to manufacture goods and services. So this is called as production. So this study of production of goods and services and consumption is only we are studying it as economics. Okay, we'll study about this in detail when we are talking about national income, how the circular flow of income is happening. Okay, so for whom these goods and services they are producing? The goods and services are in turn being produced for the consumption. Consumption of whom? Two important sectors. One, households. We called companies as firms in economics and the people as households in economics. So for the consumption of us, that is the households, and for other firms also. Even other firms consume. So for their consumption, we are producing. So this is the basic idea behind the economics. Okay. So economics, based on this production, we are giving this definition. This economics is broadly classified into two. That is macroeconomics and microeconomics. Macroeconomics means studying the concepts of economics at the macro scale, at the national level. So studying the concepts of economics at the national level is called as macroeconomics. So studying the same economics at the micro scale is called as microeconomics. So at national level means macroeconomics talks about for all the economics concept, you will be studying nation as the scale or a large region as a scale. Like for example, national income, GDP or the GDP, inflation, unemployment. You will study inflation of India, unemployment in India, national income of India. So you'll study all these things at a large level, at a macro level. So national income, inflation, GDP, or monetary policy, fiscal policy, budgeting of the government. So all these concepts are studied at the national level. So studying economics concept at larger scale is macroeconomics. Studying the economics concepts at micro scale, at individual level or at a company level. So managing the budget of the family or managing the finances of a company. So assets and liabilities of a company, profit and loss of company, and studying the economics of a company. Studying the performance of one particular good. So why tomato prices rise? So you are studying about the prices of one particular good called tomato. So that is microeconomics. In microeconomics, you are studying about the performance of various economic concepts at goods level or individual level or a company level or a household level. So that is microeconomics. How the performance of a share of a company is happening in share market. So like for example, how the TCS shares performs or how the Infosys share performs. So you are studying about the performance of a share for a particular company. That is microeconomics. For developmental economics side, we are just having macroeconomics in the syllabus. So we'll be discussing the macroeconomics part in the syllabus. So only macroeconomics we are having in the syllabus. So microeconomics is study of economics at the individual group level. So I'll share all the notes. So whatever I'm discussing in the class, everything I'll be sharing. So everything will be there in the notes. You just note down only those important things which you feel like, or note down the important examples. For certain concepts, in order to explain those concepts, I will say some examples. Those examples you will not find in books. That for your understanding, I'll be telling. If you are writing those examples in your notes, tomorrow when you are revising it, that will be helpful. Okay. So that is macroeconomics and microeconomics. So basic definition, just to have an idea. Macroeconomics is study of economy as a whole, not just a specific components like GDP, unemployment, and all those things we are studying in macroeconomics. Okay. So microeconomics, macroeconomic differences. I'll share the basic handouts today. In the notes form, I'll share. So are you ready on the schedule? Okay, schedule part we'll be sharing the schedule as handouts today, and we'll be posting the notes in the Telegram group. So do join the Telegram group. And sir, is the Telegram group ready for everyone to join? Yeah. Economic module separate Telegram group. So when they are leaving, let them join that. So there I'll post the PDFs. Okay. So now next topic is about organizing economy. I hope a few people are also joining us from YouTube. Yes. So now we are going to see the next topic called organizing an economy. So how we are going to organize economy. So a few people are seeing in YouTube, the first two sessions only will be live. That is the today's sessions only will be live. From tomorrow onwards, you have to join in the Zoom session only if you register. And today we are just putting it in YouTube. So next topic is organizing economy. So we are organizing economy based on how this production is happening. We just saw what is production, production of goods and services. So based on how the production is happening, we are organizing economy into basic three categories. What are all the categories? Capitalist economy, state or communist economy, and mixed economy. State, communist or socialist economy, they use it interchangeably, and mixed economy. So these are all the three important types of economies: capitalist economy, state economy, and mixed economy. So how we are determining it? On what basis we are classifying it? We are classifying the types of economy by asking certain basic questions. So answering those questions will give us the types of economies. I hope you would have seen those 4 questions in NCRTs. I've just taken this from NCRT, directly from 11th standard NCRT. They would have explained all these things in a box. If you are asking these 4 questions, if you are getting the answer, with that we can classify the economy into 3. So what are all the factors that determine the types of the economy? Who owns the factors of production? So this is the first question. The factors of production of land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Who is owning it? So for the capitalistic economy, generally, so what is the structure of the capitalistic economy? So in capitalistic economy, the entire economy is controlled by the government. Sorry, by the private, excuse me. So in the capitalist economy, the entire economy and entire structure is controlled by the private sector, by the market forces. Rather than calling it private sector, we'll call it market forces. The entire economy will be driven by the market forces of demand and supply. And private sector will play the major role in driving the economy. That is capitalistic economy. Market forces, by the word market forces, what I mean is demand and supply. When demand and supply interact together, we find an equilibrium. So based on that equilibrium, the market will function. We'll discuss about demand and supply later. Next, in state economy or communist economy or socialist economy, the entire economy is run by the state. That is government. So government runs the economy, government decides the economy, government decides the policies and where the economy should go. Even the businesses are run by the government, and the intensity varies. Like in communist economy is the extreme form. Socialist economy is a little bit middle form. So it is a modified version of a communist economy. So in communist economy, you are in an extreme form. There don't be any private property. All the properties are owned by the government. All the industries are owned by the government. Everything is run by the government. And typical example is USSR. For capitalistic economy, we are having USA as the example. Mixed economy mixes both the parts. Here, both government will exist and private will exist. They exist independently and they run the economy for their own purposes. And government will act as a regulator for all. So that is how it happens in the mixed economy. Government's role as a regulator is very limited in capitalistic economy, but it's a bit higher in the mixed economy. So by understanding all these these four questions, we can identify the differences now. Okay. So first of all, we are having the first question is who owns the factors of production. So in capitalistic economy, who owns the factors of production? Market forces, or you can call private sector. So market forces or private sector will hold the control of factors of production. What are the factors of production? Land, labor, and capital, and entrepreneurship. All the 4 is in the hands of the market, is in the hands of the private sector. So government's role is very minimal. Government just act as a minimal regulator, not the regulation is also very limited. So that is the capitalistic economy. So next we are having state economy or communist economy. In state or communist economy, everything is controlled by the government. The land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship is controlled by the government. Government controls the land. Government controls the labor. Government is the entrepreneur here. So that is here. In mixed economy, we are having both public, both private and government. So both of them will be holding the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, factors of production. So, like for example, see, India is currently a mixed economy. So, where we are having both government sector, which is running BSNL, we are having private sector, which is running Geo. We are having government sector, which used to run Air India. Now we are running Indian Railways. We are having private sector. They are also having transportation. So both government and private will coexist in a mixed economy. Like for example, in Tamil Nadu, I used to use this example. We are having this Amma canteens, which is run by state government. Government of Tamil Nadu runs this Amma canteens where they provide food at a subsidized cost. Idli is given, it's sold at 1 rupee, and sambar rice is sold at 5 rupees. So you can just get a cup of bowl of rice at cooked rice at 5 rupees. So we are having private sector restaurants, big chains, KFCs or McDonald's or what all private sector hotels, which is run by private. We are also having restaurants run by the government for the people. So the businesses, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship is held by both government and private sector. So that is the difference. In India, steel manufacturing is done by SAIL and also by Tata. So both government and private are running the industries. So that is mixed economy. So this is the first question. Second question, what goods and services are produced? So what goods and services are produced is determined by what determines it. So those goods which is having demand, only those goods are produced in a capitalistic economy. Those goods with the demand. I'm just using the word demand. But in the state economy, those goods with the needs. Here I'm using two different words. Demand and need. Both might sound similar. Both of them we will be using it interchangeably. But in economy, we are having two different meanings. So demand is created only if the person is having money. Whoever is having the purchasing power, whoever is having the money, only they can create demand. So demand is created when the individual is having money, that individual is ready to pay certain things and buy. Only if that individual is having money and ready to pay that money and buy certain goods, then demand will be created. But need is interdependent, is not dependent on money. Need is basic necessity for the survival. So for an individual to survive or to have a basic dignified life, they are having certain basic necessities. That individual should get those basic necessities irrespective of that person is having money or not, because that is human rights. And that is the role of the government to provide these basic needs to the people. So needs are bare basic essentials which is needed for a person. That person should get it irrespective of that person is having money or not. But demand is created by money. So for only those goods which people are ready to buy by spending money, only those goods will be provided by the private sector. So private sector manufacture those goods and services which are ready to be sold. But in state economy, only those goods with the need for the basic essential necessities of the people, only those goods will be produced in a state economy. In mixed economy, both will be there. The demand will be catered by the private sector. Need will be catered by the government sector. So that is what is existing here. So government is running hospital, which is a basic need for the people, poor people. Private is running the hospitals, which is catering the demand. Whoever is ready to pay some extra money, they can go to the private hospital or for private education, both the things. Like the demand is catered by the private and need is catered by the government. So only those goods with the demand will be produced. How they are distributed? So goods are distributed by the private sector through the market forces. So in market, they are distributing the goods for in exchange of money. For the profit is the motive. So goods are distributed and the prices are fixed based on the profit motive, and market forces will determine. So goods are distributed in the market and market forces determine the prices. So this is what happens in the capitalist. So capitalistic economy fixes the price based on the market's demand and supply and profit motive. But in the state economy, the motive is welfare. Welfare and the prices are fixed by the government. In mixed economy, we are having both. Okay. In mixed economy, in state economy, the goods will be distributed by using public distribution system. We are having this ration shop to distribute the goods for free of cost or low cost. But in capital economy, you have to go and buy in market. But in state economy, it is distributed by PDS. In mixed economy, you will have both. So that is the same difference in all the three. And how the prices of the goods are fixed. Here it is fixed based on the whatever market determines. In state economy, government sells it at low cost or no cost, or low cost. In mixed economy, there is both. Both private runs sells goods in the market and government distributes the goods through public distribution system. Like for example, take this recently government sometimes when prices are exorbitant, government might come and interfere. In a mixed economy, generally government won't interfere. Prices are fixed by the market. But when there is a need, government will come and interfere. Like for example, recently they fixed for masks and sanitizers. When mask prices and sanitizer prices were shooting up during pandemic, what happened? Government interfered and fixed the prices. So they brought masks and sanitizer under Essential Commodities Act, and they declared that you have to sell mask for 5 rupees or 10 rupees and sanitizer of 100 ml only for 80 rupees because it was selling at 400, 500. So government interfered and fixed the prices. So these kind of interference will be there in the mixed economy. Otherwise, the prices will be determined by the market. Recently, government also, through drug price control order, they fixed the prices of stents. Stent which is used in the heart surgeries. During the bypass surgery, they will be keeping stents whenever the people are having blocks in their heart. So those stents are sold for lakhs in the market, but the actual price is in some 20,000. So government through drug price control order, they fixed the prices of stent that it should not be sold more than 27,000. So whenever, for the welfare of the people. So whenever there are exorbitant prices, government will interfere in the mixed economy. Otherwise, the goods are determined by the market forces. So these are all the 4 questions you have to answer in order to determine the nature of economy. So based on this, we are classifying economy into capitalistic, state, and mixed. At present times, most of the economies are mixed. Almost all the economies are mixed, but the level of interference of the government varies from economy to economy. So if you take capitalistic, we are having examples like USA, UK, and all the Western countries and European countries, Australia, New Zealand. All these countries are capitalistic country with the lesser government interference. Government will interfere, government will act as a regulator, but predominantly it is capitalistic. Next, with respect to state economy, there is no pure state economy now. As such, USSR, which was communist-based government, disintegrated, and China, which started off as a communist regime, now it is a purely state-controlled capitalistic economy. So China is a pure capitalistic economy. They are having communism only in their name of their country, and in their flag they are having red. Other than that, it is a pure capitalistic economy. So for state economy, to find a perfect example, Cuba also became mixed economy. So they are having both. So pure state economy, we are not having any percent examples except North Korea. We might say it is a state economy. We don't know what's happening there. So yeah, that's the reality. We don't know what's happening there. Entire resources of the country is determined by the dictator, not for the welfare of the people, but for the defense purposes, for the geopolitical purposes. So except for North Korea, we are not having any state economy. Most of the economies are mixed, including India. Actually, in 1948 Industrial Policy Resolution, they would have declared India as a mixed economy then itself. Only in 1956 Industrial Policy Resolution, they would have declared India as a socialistic economy. In 1956, only in Avadi Congress session, they would have declared India as a socialistic, they would declare that Congress goal is going to be the socialistic pattern. And in 1956 Industrial Policy only, they made India socialistic. But in 1948, they had the idea of making it mixed then itself. But they changed it later. But being socialist in 50s and 60s is not an issue. Continuing it after 70s and 80s was the problem. We should have opened up in 70s and we should have allowed the private sectors in 70s. The continuation, the restrictions for the 40 years became the problem, and that ended up in the LPG reforms. We were forced to do the reforms. So these are all the basic things. So who is the proponent of the capitalistic ideology? Adam Smith. Adam Smith, who is considered to be in this book, famous book called Wealth of Nations, he proposed this concept of capitalistic economy. So the aim of the economy, aim of an individual is to create wealth. So for creating wealth, the entire economy functions, and an invisible hand in the form of market forces will come and aid the process. So market forces is given prominence, and he proposed this concept called laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means leave us alone. You will see the words in the notes. I'll share the notes. Laissez-faire is the a Latin word which talks about leave us alone. Don't interfere. So they are asking the government to leave the business alone. Next, we are having state economies. The communist economy as an idea was proponed by Karl Marx in his book Das Kapital. So Karl Marx is the propounder of the idea of communist economy. So where he says that there is no role for private sector or market forces. Everything should be under the government's control. That should not be private property, and government should run the economy. And every individual in economy should just be the worker. There is no concept called owner. So that will be the state economy. In mixed economy, we are having both government and private. And mixed economy, we are having a lot of proponents. One famous proponent was John Maynard Keynes. John Maynard Keynes, in his famous work, in 1930 after the global depression. There he would have stressed about the need for, of course, he's a capitalistic economist only, but he proposed the need for the state interference in the economy. Even though America was a capitalistic country without any state interference, that ended up them into depression. So what John Maynard Keynes said, in the name of capitalism, we should not avoid all the interference of the government. Government should interfere in the economy as a market regulator. So we need regulations from the government as a market regulator. That's what was propounded by Keynes. So from 1930s onwards, even USA adopted market regulations by the government sector only as a regulator, not as a participant. So mixed economies, earliest proponents was John Maynard Keynes, and later period of time we had a lot of individual economists. This is the basic idea behind all the three. So if you take Tamil Nadu book, this is a diagram which I took from 12th standard Tamil Nadu book. So they would have given the differences beautifully: capitalism, socialism, and mixedism. Who's owning the means of production? What is the economic motive? The economic motive for capitalism is profit. The motive of the government is welfare. Mixedism, we are having both. Solution for central problems. So here everything is the economy is planned and determined by free market system, but here we are having a central planning system. We are having something called central planning system, which will do the 5-year plans and kind of thing. In mixed economy, we are having both. Now we are having finance ministry, which is deciding the budget and the direction in which the government should go. It is determined by the government, the present government. But free market also exists here. So government's role is just internal regulation only. But here it is complete involvement. There the government's role is limited. So one major problem with respect to capitalist economy was inequality. The distribution of income was unequal. So this leaving the entire control to the capitalistic market led to the inequality of rich becoming richer and poor becoming poorer. That is the major drawback of capitalistic economy, where the wealth will be accumulated in the hands of certain people. So that was the problem. Wealth will be accumulated in the hands of business people who are running the firms. Next, we are having socialism, where the income distribution will be aimed to be equal. In mixed economy, the inequality is less equal. So inequality is huge in capitalism, but the inequality is minimized in the mixed economy. Nature of enterprises in capitalism, it is driven by private enterprises. In socialism, it is by government enterprises. And in mixed economy, we are having the blend of both the same. So this is the basic difference. I'll share these notes, you can see. Okay. So I would have explained all those things. What is this laissez-faire? Laissez-faire means leave us alone. You can just read through the notes, you will understand. What is mixed? Whatever we discussed, we would have seen. The next concept which you have to see after the organizing the economy into three. Now we are going to see this concept of difference between growth and development. So this is a very simple concept. What is the difference between growth and development? Growth means it's just the quantitative rise. Development means it is qualitative increase. So that is the basic difference. So people use these words interchangeably, but there is a small difference between both growth and development. So growth is all about increasing in numbers. So just increasing the GDP, just increasing the per capita income, just increasing the overall production, just increasing the exports or imports. So only in numerical sense, if the increase is happening, then that is called as growth. Development means development happens only if the growth is distributed among the population. So what is the difference between growth? So growth is a precursor for development, but development means whatever growth we are attaining, if it is inclusive. When a growth is considered to be development means if the growth is inclusive, if the growth is happening to all the sectors and all the sections of people, all the sectors of economy and all the sections of people, then that is development. This growth, if it is distributed to all, and because of this growth, the quality of life of people and standard of living of people improves, then that is called as development. So only increasing in numbers. So Indian economy will call this phenomenon called jobless growth. After 1991, we are having huge GDP growth. We are having continuous GDP growth, but we are not creating enough employments. So we are having this income distribution part never happened successfully after LPG reform. So after LPG reform, economy is growing, but that economy's growth is happening only because of certain sectors and certain sections of population. And the growth is not reaching each and every section of the society. That's why still the poverty is existing. Of course, the number has been cut down. Recently, we had multidimensional poverty index, which said that poverty reduced from 25, multidimensional poverty in India reduced from 25% to now we are having 15%. So almost in the last 5 years, we from 2015 to 2019, in that 5 years, we reduced the multidimensional poverty from 25% to 15%. That is the latest finding. We reduced the poverty, but still poverty exists. Hunger index. In hunger index, we are ranked at 111. Now 117. Now it is 111. Last year it was 107. Now it is 111. So even though we are the fifth largest economy with huge growth rates, still we are ranking behind in hunger index, or still poverty, multidimensional poverty is existing. So if growth is inclusive and if growth is distributed, then that is called as development. So this is the basic idea of growth and development. If growth is inclusive and growth is distributed, then that is called as development. Clear? So this is the basic idea behind difference between growth and development. So the basic definitions I would have given. See, in the first day session, we'll just see the basic concepts. See, the real important, all the tough concepts are going to come only from Wednesday and Thursday, monetary policy, fiscal policy. Now we are just going to see the basics. Don't think that only basics are coming now. This is going to be like this. All the important topics are going to come. The next important, so anyway, we have to start day one with the basics. We cannot directly jump right. Many first attempters are here. How many first attempters you said? 1, 2, 3, 4. We are having 4 first attempters. So we have to deal with all the basics. So all the other 3 are following. Now, just now we joined, this person joined. Other 3 are you able to follow whatever you are discussing? Are you able to follow? What is your name, sir? What? Shiva Kumar. You are from? Like which state? Tamil Nadu dana. Okay. Yes. How, which attempt? Attempt? Which attempt? First attempt. Okay, fine. So now we are going to see the next topic of sectors of economy. So economy, based on the production process, we are classifying economy into 3: primary, secondary, and tertiary. So that is what we are going to discuss in the sectors of economy. So based on the how production process happens. So by production, what we mean? Firms are using the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. They are utilizing the scarce resources. The scarce resources are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. They are utilizing these resources and they are producing a good or they are producing a service. This is called as production. Based on how this production is happening, we are classifying the economy into 3. So I'll just give you the basic example. So from now onwards, I'll start giving a lot of examples. You better note it down, which will be continuing. Whatever example now I'm going to use, this supply chain we are going to use till the end of the session. It is going to come back again. So since I am a tea lover, I'll start with the tea leaves. In Delhi only, I came and found that tea is staple here. Like for the first time, I'm seeing 5 rupees tea. So here 3 is given in 3 forms: chota, medium, or bada. 5 rupees, 10 rupees, and 15 rupees for the first time I'm seeing. Yeah, back there we'll drink only 15 rupees tea or 10 rupees. It's just the normal thing. But here we are having a 3 levels. Everyone are just going and taking a 5 rupees shots and going of tea. So tea is a staple thing, and that's where I was very happy because tea is so plenty here. So let's start with tea leaves. So you are in a tea estate in Ooty. Ooty is having tea estate, or you are in a tea estate in Assam. So, or in Himachal. In Himachal, we are having which variety of tea? Kangara tea is there in Himachal. So this tea leaves is taken from tea plantation. So this tea leaves from tea plantation goes to tea industry. 3 Roses or Chakra Gold. What is famous here? What is famous in your state? Which tea in UP? 3 Roses or Chakra Gold, or which one? Tata or Taj? Tata and Taj is famous. Okay. What? Yeah, obviously UP is having the highest population. So let's take Tata tea. That is preferred here. Okay. So it is going to the Tata tea industry where they are converting these tea leaves into tea powder. So what is the output of Tata tea? Tea powder. So this tea powder is being sold in the packaged forms by some supermarkets. It is coming to a supermarket. There they are selling this packaged tea. So 1 kilo, 2 kilo, or 500 grams, 250 grams. So this packaged tea is sold in the supermarket. This tea is purchased by two persons. They are selling it to two people. One is, it is being sold to a tea shop or a restaurant. Another is, I am going and buying. I allow tea, so I'll also buy. So when I am buying tea, what I will do? I'll buy it, take it to my home, I'll make tea and I'll drink. That's it, over. But when tea shop is buying, what they will do? They will further convert the tea into hot serving tea. Okay. So they'll further convert that into hot serving tea. So this is the basic supply chain which you are going to see. We'll repeat this in various chapters in national income. Then we'll see this during the taxation. Then we'll be seeing this during the types of goods also. So we'll be discussing this again and again and again. Okay. So now this is the basic supply chain. We are taking tea leaves, we are converting into tea powder. This tea powder is going to supermarket. From there, it is being sold to a restaurant and to an individual. And the restaurant is further doing the value addition. So this is the basic supply chain. So what is, now we'll go into the sectors of economy. So now we are having this example. With this, now we'll understand the sectors of economy. So now the economy is classified into three sectors called primary, secondary, tertiary, based on how the production process takes place. When humans directly interact with nature and make a good out of it, then that is called as primary sector. So what is the difference between thing and a good? Everything is a thing. When we called a normal thing into a good, when that is having some economic value. Okay. So goods are those things which is having some economic value in the market. So that is called as goods. So when human is interacting directly with the nature and making a good out of it, then that is called as primary sector. So in primary sector, we are directly interacting with the nature and making the good. Like for example, here we are having tea leaves. So agriculture is the most best example for primary sector. What is happening in agriculture? We are directly interacting with the soil. We are putting some seeds, we are watering it, and we are getting some agricultural produce. So we are making an agricultural produce out of soil, directly interacting with the nature and making. Then what is dairy? Then what is fishing? Livestock. So all the agriculture and animal husbandry is coming under primary sector. There is another thing in primary sector called mining. So what is happening in mining? In mining, again, we are directly digging the ground and taking a rock out. And we are using we are selling that rock in the form of ores. So, or minerals. So when this coal is there under the ground, it is just a rock. When it is coming out and it is being sold, it is sold as a resource. When something is getting an economic value, then that is called a good. We are taking some rock from the nature and we are selling it. That is coal or hematite or bauxite. So mining is also part of the primary process. So all these things come under the primary industry where there is a direct interaction of the nature and we are producing the goods. So that is primary sector. So here we are producing agricultural goods in the primary sector. Second, in secondary sector. In secondary sector, we are converting one form of good into another form by utilizing the process of manufacturing. So through the process of manufacturing, we are converting one form of good into another form of good. You're taking one form of good, you are converting into another form. So that good can be any good. It can be from primary sector or it can be another finished good also. But you are taking one good and converting into another good, which is of different form. That is, all those processes will come in the secondary sector. You are through the process of manufacturing. Manufacturing can be in various forms. So you are taking tea leaves and converting into tea powder. Okay. So that is one secondary part. Next, you are taking hematite and taking iron and steel out of it. That is metallurgy. Okay. You are taking coal and manufacturing electricity out of it. That is power generation. So you are using all the raw materials and like you are using tire, iron and steel, leather, and an engine and all those things and making a car. You are taking some random goods and assembling it and making a car. So all these things, but still the good is transformed. So transforming one form of good to another form through the process of manufacturing is called as secondary sector. So transforming one form of good to another form is called as manufacturing. So here we are converting tea. So next is tertiary sector. So what are all these things comes under the tertiary sector? Tertiary sector's role is to serve all the other sectors. So the primary role of tertiary sector is to serve primary sector, to serve secondary sector, to serve the consumers. So there is something called consumer here. So here I am a consumer. So there is someone called consumer. So this tertiary sector is serving the primary sector, serving the secondary sector, and serving the consumer. That is the role of tertiary sector. That is the first thing. The second role, important role, is they help in the movement of goods from one sector to another sector through transportation. Primary to secondary, you need to transport. Secondary to tertiary, you need to transport. The tea leaves which were originated in some tea plantation came to your home. All this happened because of transportation. So transporting goods from one sector to another sector is another role of tertiary sector. So tertiary sector is going to serve all the other sectors. They are going to be involved in the transportation and communication part. So this is their main role. So in service sectors, they are going to serve all the other sectors is the first definition we saw. So while the serving, the best example is financial sector. Take banks. Bank is giving loans to farmer. Bank is giving loans to industry. Bank is giving loans to consumers also, like us. So bank is giving loans to all the sectors. So, and they are also giving it to the individuals. Take a lawyer. A lawyer may be needed by the farmer, also might use the support of lawyer, or an industry also might be using the support of lawyer for litigation. Lawyer is also used by the consumers for their own. So that is service. Take education, take health. Hospital, everyone has to use. So all these things, so this hospital, education, all these things are tertiary sector. Like whatever is happening here, we are doing coaching here. Civil services coaching is services, because we are providing the services. We are coaching in the to face an examination which is coming under education, which is a service sector. We are serving the people. So all these things, and most of the services are intangible. You cannot touch and feel, you can just feel it. So serving all the other sectors and serving the consumers is the primary role of the tertiary sector. So here we are having supermarket. What supermarket is doing? So one important role is to take the goods from the other two sectors and give it to the consumers. That is also the role of tertiary sector. Here supermarket is taking the goods from primary and secondary and giving it to the consumers. So they are giving to another tertiary sector called restaurant. Restaurant is also coming under tertiary sector because they are serving food there. So supermarket is also tertiary sector because they are selling the goods to the other sectors and consumers. So that is the role of tertiary sectors. Okay. This is primary, secondary, and tertiary. We are having another two sectors called quaternary and quinary. Quaternary and quinary is the latest classification. In general classical economics, we had only three, but in the modern day economics, we are having other two classifications. They are not fourth and fifth, rather they are subcategories of tertiary. We cannot call them separately as fourth and fifth category. They are named quaternary and quinary. Obviously, it is 4 and 5 only, but they are considered to be the subcategories of service sectors. So in quaternary sectors, generally we are having those people who are using their knowledge as a means to serve. So it is involving something related to knowledge economy. So knowledge economy and technical things like for example, take teaching. Teaching is involving a lot of knowledge. Or take IT professional, they are making a code. Take a musician who is composing a music, or take an artist who is drawing a painting. They are using their knowledge, doing out of some creativity, or their utilization of knowledge is there. So that is coming under the quaternary sectors. In quinary sectors, we will be having the highest decision-making jobs. Decision-making jobs at the highest levels, like a CEO of a company or an IAS officer. All of us here are aspiring to become in service sector in IAS. So IAS is the highest decision-making level jobs, or MPs, MLAs, or IAS, IPS, or all the secretaries, or the CEOs of the companies, managing directors of the companies, directors of the company boards. All these people who are serving in the highest decision-making levels, they are called as quinary sector. In quaternary sectors, knowledge is involved. Like they are creating something out of their knowledge. It can be an IT professional making a code, developing a code, or developing a software, or it can be a specialist doctor who's performing a complex surgery, or it can be a famous lawyer who's taking care of the most crucial litigation, or advising a company with respect to that, or a famous auditor doing the auditing or process of a company. All these things comes under quaternary sector, where a huge knowledge is involved. In quinary sector, highest decision-making levels. like IAS. So government itself is a part of tertiary sector. If you see our GDP calculation, they will be classifying government. In that, public administration and and defense comes under tertiary sector. So that is also having a share in GDP. So we all are aspiring to be a person in tertiary sector. Already I am in a tertiary sector. So that is teaching, but also still the aspirations going. Let's see. So these are all the three entire supply chain, starting from tea leaves to tea. So we'll be using this example again and again and again. Okay. So now you are clear with the primary, secondary, and tertiary. This is the sectors of economy. So based on the composition of the sectors, we are classifying the economy. So now some production happens in the primary, some production happens in secondary, some production happens in tertiary. Okay. What is the total value of production in all the three sectors? Called. That is GDP. So what is the definition of GDP? Gross domestic product. The total value of all goods and all final goods and services produced in an economy. So all the goods and services produced in an economy, that's total value is called as GDP. That's what national income we are telling. In that GDP, we can segregate the contributions of each sector individually. What is the contribution of primary? What is the contribution of secondary? What is the contribution of tertiary? If the contribution of whichever sector is more than 50, then that type of economy it is. If share of primary is more than 50, then we call it agricultural economy. If share of secondary is more than 50% of GDP, then we call it manufacturing economy. If share of services is more than 50, then it is service-based economy. So India is what economy now? Service-based economy. Till 1999, till late 80s, we were agricultural economy. From late 80s till 1999, we were transitioning. So transitioning economy is that economy where no sector is having more than 50. Everything is 30, 30, 40 like that. So that is transitioning economy. We were transitioning economy in 80s and 90s. From 2000 onwards, we became service economy. So India was never a manufacturing economy in its journey in the last 75 years. But generally, an economy will transition from primary to secondary and secondary to tertiary. And that is the economic transition. That's what Rostow's growth theory. Rostow is a famous economist. He gave this growth theory that economy will transition from primary to secondary and secondary to tertiary. That is the order. But India defies that order. We directly jump to service sector. That is creating its own problems. Of course, we got certain advantages, but we are facing a lot of structural issues because of it. So based on whichever sector's contribution is higher, we are classifying economy into three. Whichever share is more than. If for India, what is the share of primary sector? No. It is roughly 18%. We can say roughly 18%. Okay. So next we are having manufacturing. So manufacturing share will be roughly 27%, 25 to 27%. It varies sometimes. So roughly we can say 25. Service sector is roughly some 53. So 53, 18 to 20 it will vary, 25 to 27 it will vary, 53 to 54 it will vary. So this is a rough calculation. Okay. So it is roughly some 25. Okay. So this is the share of all the three sectors, rough share. I'll show you the actual data, rough shares of all the three sectors. So India is a predominantly service-based economy. So this is the current situation of India. So this is the basic idea of three sectors. Okay. So activities by directly utilizing the natural resources, agriculture, mining, fishing, and all those things. That is primary. Secondary is all about manufacturing, and tertiary is all about. These are activities that help in the development of primary and secondary sectors. These activities by themselves do not produce any goods. They aid and support in the production process. They are supporting the other sectors to do the production process by giving them loans, by doing the transportation, all these things. For example, transportation of goods that are produced in the primary sector to be transported in trucks, storage system, communications, banking, all these things are examples of tertiary sectors. So since they are serving other two sectors, we are calling them as service sector. Okay. So then we are having quaternary sector, which is a knowledge sector, and quinary sector, which is highly paid skills of senior business executives that is leveraging the highest level of decision making. That is quinary. So based on whichever sector is contributing more, we are classifying it to three: agrarian economy. Now at present, 2022 data, it is 20. Last year we had 18. Industrial share is currently 27. So agriculture 20, industry is 27, and services 53 is the current share. So this is the evolution. Starting from 1950s to current times, this is how our economy has performed. When we started off in 1950, the share of agriculture was more than 50%. Slowly the share dwindled. The share of services was somewhere near 30, and share of manufacturing was the lowest. Even during independence, service sector had more share than the industries. If you see, India was never industrialized because British government never industrialized India. They were industrializing the Britain at the cost of India. So India was never industrialized. And if you see our industrial curve, it's just stagnating. So it started off somewhere near 15%. Now it is somewhere near 27%, but it is stagnated. It never grew. So till 1990s, we never allowed private sector to grow. With a lot of restrictions by the government, no new industries came because of the license and permits and strict regulations. After 1991, when the economy opened up, all the foreign direct investments came for the services. So if you see, the share of services would have shot up after 1990. India became the service economy because of our LPG reforms. So why this thing happened? Why India skipped the manufacturing? This is the biggest question. So when USA transitioned from agriculture, manufacturing, services, UK transformed like that. All the developed countries transformed like that. Currently, our competitor or the neighbor China, which is considered to be, which is a manufacturing economy. They were agricultural economy. Now they are the manufacturing economy. Slowly they are expanding. But why India skipped manufacturing? This is the question. Any answers? Any reasons? Can you say why? Based on whatever understanding you have.
Countries have the more number of times. British are nearly 170 years. They have industrial economy.
Yeah.
Like America.
Yeah.
India is only 75 years only we are independent. We have less time.
Okay, this is a good logical guess. But India and China started off together. When in 1947 we got independence, 1948 they had revolution, Mao revolution. So till 1970, India was ahead of China in GDP. But what happened now after 1970? So that is the thing.
Because its industrial sector to China.
To China, okay. You came near. Yeah, this is you are coming near. Why America incentivized China?
Because
that is the next question.
To be close to Russia if there was Cold War. Due to geopolitical distancing, wants to counter USSR.
Okay. Doesn't want two communist friends to come together. USSR is also communist. China is also communist. America doesn't want two communists to join and become a bigger communist partner. That is a good geopolitical answer exactly, but there is an economic reason also. Yeah, demography, yeah, all those things there. The main thing is India started off as a socialist regime, democratic socialism. China started off as a communist country. So for the first 60s and 70s, China was totally communist. So there were no industrial growth. They were still lagging behind in 70s also. Then after Mao, they had China is considered behind three big leaders: Mao, Deng, and now Xi Jinping. These three people are considered to be supreme three people. So this Deng Xiaoping, who took over in 1970s, in 1978 he opened up Chinese economy. So in first 20 years, they saw how the communism form of economy ruined the economy of China. China had hunger, China had poverty, China had famine. So they decided that this continuation of this form of economy is not going to increase the production and cater to the development of the larger population. So we have to do anything. So when Deng Xiaoping took over China, Deng Xiaoping opened the Chinese economy in 1978. They were ahead of us 13 years. So when China was opened up in 1978, when USA and all the West, they wanted to counter Russia, like he said, they wanted to find an alternative place. Another important thing is already those countries are industrialized. Now all the developed countries by 70s, they are highly service economies. So all the industries which were existing there, their wage cost is increasing. If an industry is there in America, an American will be working, that American is expecting huge cost, labor cost. Now they wanted to shift their industries to a third world country with the cheap labor. So when they want to shift to a third world country with the cheap labor, we are having two options with the largest population in the world by then also. We were the first and second. So China has opened the economy, India is still closed economy. So no foreign direct investments are there. So automatically, when China opened up in 1978, from 1978 to 1991, they attracted all the investments. All the industries, whichever wanted to find another alternative spot to start their own industries, they had China with an opened economy, attracting foreign investments with incentives and geopolitically aligning with USA in order to counter USSR. So, like he said, and they attracted all the investments from 1978 to 1990s. By then, when we opened up, we realized late and we opened up in 1991, already all the industrial investments has taken by China. So they are already China started industrializing. So all the industries, whoever wanted to do the investment, they started off in China. Now they are left with the only option of services industry. So only service sector companies were left for the investments in 1990s when India opened up. So obviously all the investments which came to India after 1990 were service investment. Inherently, India had two advantages. We had these technology missions in 1985. 1885 under Rajiv Gandhi government, he introduced a lot of technology missions, and India was computerized. So computers were introduced in India earlier. When computer was itself discovered, India was invented, computers were launched. So since India adopted computers earlier, we were having a good knowledge of computers, and India is an English speaking nation, so they were good in services. So since English is a global language and India was an English speaking nation, and already with computerization, automatically in 1991, when we opened up, all the service industries came to India because services need language. So, and automatically only they were left because all the manufacturing investments were taken by China. So since China opened up in 1998, they got all the manufacturing investments. Since India opened up late, we were left with service investment, and services were natural to India because of the language. So that's why we had all the service investments, and we got boomed with respect to IT revolution, and we became a service economy by 2000. So India became a service economy by 2000, crossing 50% mark, and that led to the skipping of manufacturing sector. So this is the thing which happened. So I hope now you would have got an idea. So if this is the brief background of why India became service economy, this has created a structural problem here. So generally, an economy should transition from primary to secondary and secondary to tertiary, but India jumped to services. Because of this, if you say the nature of manufacturing sector is a labor-intensive sector. You need 100 people to produce. Let's take this example. In manufacturing, you will need 100 people. You need 100 people to produce a GDP of worth of 1,000. If you have to produce GDP worth of 1,000, 100 people should work to produce the GDP out of 1,000. But in services, you can produce 1,000 rupees worth GDP by 10 people. If 10 people are working in IT industries, they can produce a GDP worth of 1,000 rupees. So manufacturing is a labor intensive sector. Services is a capital intensive or technological intensive sector. So with less number of people, you can produce a GDP. So after 1990s, when India has a service economy, our GDP is increasing because the 1,000 rupees GDP is coming by services, but only 10 people are employed. What about the rest of 90? So these rest of the 90 people were not given jobs. So that led to the unemployment crisis, and that is called as jobless growth. So the jobless growth means after 1990s, our GDP is growing, but that is not providing enough jobs because service sector is able to produce the GDP through which the growth is coming, but the 90 jobs which manufacturing would have produced is not being produced. So that led to the jobless growth phenomenon. And because of that only, we are facing the huge unemployment crisis presently. So India's unemployment crisis, which is happening in the recent times, is because of the structural problem in our economy itself, where we jumped from primary to tertiary and missed the manufacturing growth. So labor intensive manufacturing never happened in India. So most of you, who of your friends would have studied engineering, they would have ended up in IT company. They wouldn't have gone to some mechanical or some core companies, and they would have gone to IT companies because only IT companies are here, no industries here. So that's why obviously they didn't get job in any industry. They all are ending up in ITs. So that is the main reason. So this structural issue is causing the unemployment issue, and that is creating the problem. An economy, when it is agriculture, with whatever surplus they are producing with the agriculture sector, slowly that surplus is creating a capital. When economy is agricultural economy, primitive economy, slowly they'll produce some surplus. That surplus will be slowly increasing, and the population also will be increasing after generation after generation. Since generation after generation, population is increasing at one side, agriculture surplus is increasing in other side. You are having population, but it is not necessary that everyone should work in agriculture. So you will be having excess people. After generation of generation, population is increasing who need other jobs. So automatically, when population is widening, the demands for goods will increase. Like demands for shirt, demands for shoes, ties, pants, or mobiles, or whatever. When demands for other goods is increasing and population is increasing, automatically you need more industries to cater the produce those goods. So that's why when an agricultural economy is reaching its saturation, population will be huge. They need all the goods. So demand for goods would have been increased. They would have created agricultural surplus. With that agricultural surplus, manufacturing is widening up and they are producing the goods to cater the population. So that's why slowly an economy will becoming a manufacturing economy because manufacturing will increase in order to cater the demand of increasing population and money for manufacturing is coming from agricultural surplus. When economy's population is huge, it should be a manufacturing economy. That's what China has achieved. When economy's population is huge, it should be a manufacturing economy because it will only create jobs for all the people. So obviously, all the people will be getting jobs. They will be working in industries. They will be earning wages. So after a few generations of working, these people would have attained good levels of income. All their things would have been catered. Now next they will be thinking about the leisure. We'll go for a movie. We'll go to restaurant. When after they are in a good economic level, they'll go to restaurants every week, go to movie every week, go to malls, go to tours, start invest money in the banking sector, start invest in finances. So when people have reached a good economic level, then the demand for services comes. So that's why when manufacturing is saturating, everyone would have got good incomes. So the demand for services will increase and slowly service sector will grow. So this is the order in which economy. So slowly that economy will be transitioning from manufacturing to services because already people are getting good incomes. So when India is skipping manufacturing and directly coming to services, a lot of people are going to be ending up unemployed, and that is creating the structural problem till now. So India's solution with respect to economic development is lying in manufacturing. That's why government is launching Make in India. That's why Make in India was incentivized in 2014 to 19. And currently we are focusing on PLI, production linked incentive schemes. For the last 10 years, if you would have seen, every focus would have been only on manufacturing because that is what is needed. So that's why Atmanirbhar is brought, PLI is brought, Make in India is being brought. In Make in India, we focused on some 27 sectors. In PLI, we focused on some 14 sectors. All these sectors, which is crucial for manufacturing. At the same time, we chosen those sectors in such a way that it is also the having future potential. All the future potential critical sectors were chosen. So this is the structural transformation of economy, whatever happened. So this is the data is still 2014 only. From there, it came to 53. It came, so everything it have come down. Okay. So clear. So now next I'll show you the last year's economic survey. This is last year's economic survey data. This year's economic survey data will update. So last year's GDP share was agriculture in 20. Then secondary sector was having the share of 25 and services was having the share of 53. While GDP calculation, we are integrating mining and quarrying together with metallurgy under industry. So don't get confused. Mining as economic thing, it is primary sector. But in GDP calculation, our CSO or NSO, when they are releasing GDP, they are classifying mining and metallurgy together under industries. So that's why mining is coming under here. But just have an idea. In agriculture, we are classifying into agriculture, fishery, forestry, and livestock. So we'll be dividing into 4. Agriculture is divided into 4. That is farming, forestry, fishing, and livestock. So agriculture is divided into 4 in GDP calculation. Industry is classified into mining and quarrying, manufacturing, electricity, and gas and water supply and construction. So construction is coming under industrial sector. And service sector is classified into 3. Financial, real estate, and professional services. So professional services means doctors, lawyers, engineers, and all those people. Then trade, hotels, transport, communication services. This is another category. And this is the government, public administration and defense. This is where we are aiming to go. All of us are aspiring to go into this sector, service sector under public administration. So this is the classification of National Statistical Office while calculating GDP. They release GDP data every quarter for all these sectors. So this is the last year's data. This year's data will wait for the economic survey for the updated value. This is the current GDP value. Okay. So there can be prelims question on how the secondary sector is classified. Construction belongs to tertiary sector. So like that, they can give statements and they can give. So consider the following statements regarding GDP calculation. If they want to give a comeback to national income after 8 years, we didn't have a question, right? Construction is classified under service sector. Or they'll be doing like this. Public administration is classified under secondary sector or something like that. You can see. If you take economic survey, they would have given individual value for all the 4 sectors. How much farming, how much livestock, how much fishing, all these things, individual value will be there. From there also you can expect questions. Every year, 1 or 2 questions reflect from economic survey. Like for example, last year we had a question regarding export. India's export is 3.5% of GDP. What is the total? India's exports to global exports percentage. So from there we saw a question last year. So like that in economic survey also we are getting questions. Okay. So overall, these are all the features of Indian economy. So what are all the basic features? How we can define an economy? So in introductory class, we have to read all these things, which everyone knows, obviously, but we have to see. India is a mixed economy because we are having both public sector and private sector's contribution. We are having kingMakers IAS Academy. We are also having All India Civil Services Coaching Center, Tamil Nadu. I'm working in both the places. I'm working for private institute and I'm also working for government. So both are running IAS institutes. So that is mixed economy. Even government is running a civil service institute, private is also running civil services. So that is mixed economy. Agriculture plays a key role. The next structural problem with respect to Indian economy is disproportionate share of agriculture to its employment in GDP. Disproportionate share of agriculture in employment and GDP. Agriculture is contributing only 20% of GDP, but it's employing 49% of the population. So in India, because of lack of industrial sector jobs, most of the people who are unemployed in industrial sector jobs are still stagnated in the agriculture. So agriculture is facing this issue of disguised unemployment. See, in Indian agriculture, let 20% of the people work and produce 20% GDP. Shift the rest of the 29% to manufacturing and services. So that is the reform which we need. Because by increasing the productivity of agriculture and by mechanization and by cooperative farming, 20% of the population is enough to produce 20% of GDP. But here, 49% of the population are working to produce only 20% of GDP. That is leading to the structural problem with respect to Indian agriculture. So this is the next issue. Are you able to see the board from there? Okay. That is the next issue. So we have to depopulate the agriculture sector by solving the disguised unemployment. What is disguised unemployment? Over employment in an agriculture. An agricultural farm might need only 4 people, but 8 people will be working there. So in a place where only 4 people are needed, but 8 people are working, so other 4 people are disguisedly unemployed. So that is disguised unemployment. Next, India is an emerging market with a stable GDP growth. Our market is widening. We are getting a lot of foreign direct investments. Last 3 years, we are getting one of the highest FDIs ever. So we are getting good investments. India is an emerging economy with 5th position in nominal GDP and 3rd position in PPP, 5th largest economy. Last year only we surpassed the UK. Last year, 2 years back, 2021, we surpassed UK to become 5th largest economy. And in purchasing power parity, we are 3rd. So what is the difference between in nominal and PPP? I'll discuss in national income class. India is the fastest growing economy because we are having an average growth rate of 7-8%. We are a fastest growing service sector with IT, banking, transportation, with contribution of 53% of GDP. We are having one of the largest domestic consumption. So India is having whatever being produced in India with our capacity, largest consumption is being catered for the local market itself. And we are not producing enough to export. So China is catering its own market and then exporting. So that is their level of production, which is happening there. But our production is enough only to cater the domestic consumption. Rapid growth of urban areas. So India is urbanizing a lot. The urbanization was 36% in 2011 census. Now it is expected to reach some 40 and 45% by, if a census is happening now, it would have crossed the 40%. By then a census should have been conducted, but I think they are postponing the census to 2026 after the election to sync it with the delimitation. Next is stable macroeconomy. In 1996, we had a Asian crisis. In 2008, we had USA financial subprime crisis, and we had COVID-19. In all the 3 crises, India never went to recession. Even though the global economies faced the recession, so of course, in COVID, we went into recession. In the first 2 cases, Indian economy stood the pressures. Indian economy slowed down. We had a growth slowdown in 1998, 1999. We had a slowdown in 2010, 11, 12, 13. But still we are able to maintain. We never went into the recession. In COVID-19 pandemic, entire world went into recession. India also went into recession, but we jumped back with the V-shaped recovery. That's what the economic survey would have said. So even though we are facing global issues, Indian economy is recovering resiliently. So that is showing the resilience and stability of the economy. And India is now in the demographic dividend phase. So what is demographic dividend? When the working population of an economy is highest than the dependent population. Economy can be divided into working population and dependent population. 15 to 65 years of age is just generally what it is considered. In general economic parlance, we say 15 to 65 years of age. In India's case, we can say 18 to 59 because 60 is the retirement age here. So if the maximum population is of 18 to 59 years of age, that is working population. The people who are kids who are studying and the old age people who are not working, they are dependent population. If working population of the economy is way higher than the dependent population, then that economy is going to have net growth. If the working population is lesser than the dependent population, then that economies will be facing burden. India's demographic dividend is huge. Almost 27% of the population is of 15 to 29 years of age. Total average age of India is 29. Adding the age of every individual and dividing by population, we'll get 29. So average age of India is 29. It's a youth population, which is having a huge potential for growth. So that is demographic dividend. India is entering the demographic dividend phase. So these are all the advantages of features of Indian economy, which you have to remember. We may not get a simple question, what are all the features of Indian economy, but we need these points to write it in somewhere else. So you may not get a mains question. Maybe you'll be getting in your state public service commissions, but not in the UPSC, you will get a question regarding features of economy. But when you're writing other answers or other essays, you can put these words when you're writing the answers. So then what are the problems of Indian economy? So these are all the problems. Disproportionate employment and GDP share of primary sector. Our primary sector is having disproportionate share with respect to employment and GDP. That's why agriculture is having less productivity and low incomes. So whatever income, if in a farm where only 4 is enough, but 8 people are working, whatever income is coming will be divided into 8 people. So all the 8 people will be getting less income. So that is the crucial problem of agriculture. In agriculture, we are also having land fragmentation, where the per capita land holding is very small, and cooperative farming has worked in livestock, but not happening in farming sector. So cooperative farming needs to be developed in farming sector. That's why government is trying farmer producer organization and Operation Greens scheme. So this disproportionate share has created disguised unemployment and lesser in productivity and creating an agricultural crisis. We have to do that. Next, skipping of manufacturing sector and jumping to service sector is another structural issue, and it has also led to the jobless growth. So low employment is created. Employment generation is very less here. So a lot of youths are unemployed. That is creating a crisis. Disguised. So our jobless growth is so bad that recently I read an article where some group 6 level examinations in UP PhD candidates also applied. In Tamil Nadu also for group 4 examination, MBA candidates will apply. So these kind of articles you will see. Group 4 level jobs is for 10th pass, but we are graduates. But why a graduate is applying for a group 4 job? Because of unemployment. So that is the crisis here. Okay. So I always suggest UPSC aspirants. You write public service commission of your state, but go write group 1. In worst case, write 2. Don't go to 4, 5, 6, 7 and all. So that's what I'll say. But many will try group 4 and all. But yeah, it depends on their family condition. But what I'm telling is focus on group 1 and UPSC. Next is disguised unemployment in agriculture. Yes. Land fragmentation in agriculture. Because of the per capita land holding is very less, that is leading to the agricultural income crisis. So we have to increase the land holding. How we can increase the land holding in agriculture? By cooperative farming. The per capita land holding is just less than 1 hectare for almost 85% of the land. So in cooperative farming, what they can do, 20 farmers with small land can come together. If 20 farmers with less than 1 hectare, they are coming together and creating that as one land unit, then we'll have a land of 20 hectares, which will be owned by 20 people. Those 20 people can cultivate together and share the profits. So this is cooperative farming, which was successfully proven with respect to dairy. We are having Amul, which is emerged as a global brand. Now Amul, which was started as a small cooperative in Anand, region of Gujarat, Now it is sponsoring Afghanistan cricket team. So that is the growth of Amul, which is through cooperatives. So cooperatives is having a huge scope in Indian farming sector, which needs to be encouraged. But land is having some sentimental attachment to the people in India. So because of the sentimental attachment to land in India, and with the caste equations existing, so this cooperating farming is not being encouraged in the Indian agriculture. So cooperative farming is a solution for the land fragmentation. Huge poverty and hunger is the next crisis. So we have to lift, according to the Niti Aayog's multidimensional poverty index itself, it's 15%. So when government's official data says 15%, then in reality, it might be somewhat higher. So that is what we have to say. So still we are having huge multidimensional poverty in India, which we need to alleviate, and we have to bring out people. India is the second largest food producer in the world, but we are ranked at 111 in hunger index. So this contradiction should be solved. Actually, in India, we are the second largest food producer. We are producing surplus food. Why hunger is existing? Yeah, hidden hunger is the next crisis. Primarily, in India, hunger is not existing because of lack of food. Hunger is existing because of logistic issues. We are not able to take the food which is being produced to the people because of the poor warehousing, poor infrastructure. Our warehousing sector of the Food Corporation of India and our warehousing and cold storage infrastructure of Food Corporation of India is so bad that there is huge wastage levels happening. So almost 30% of the horticultural crops are wasted in agricultural mandis. So food wastages is the problem here. We are producing enough, but we are not able to take it to the people. So logistic issues causing hunger, primarily hunger. Secondarily, hidden hunger in the form of nutrition. Whatever food they are getting only in the form of carbohydrates. It's not balanced diet. We need to incorporate both macro and micronutrients. So the problem with respect to hunger in India is not because of production, it is because of accessibility. So we need to, availability is there, affordability is there because of ration shops, but accessibility is the issue here. We have to increase it by developing the warehousing infrastructure. So that is the thing which is needed. And agricultural mandi needs a lot of reforms. Of course, the farm bills aimed for that. Agricultural reforms. Unfortunately, there was a miscommunication between government and the farmers, and that led to the withdrawal of the bills. So hopefully, government finds a solution to do the reforms with respect to APMCs by ensuring MSP. So this is how we have tried answers. We cannot take stances. Government is right. No, farmers is right. Hope government is negotiating with the farmers and finding a solution. At one side, doing the APMC reforms and also ensuring the MSP. That's it. This is how we have tried the answers. Always we have to follow the Madhyam Marga, as said by Buddha. So follow Madhyam, or you can say doctrine of mean, as said by Aristotle or other Greek philosophers. Doctrine of mean also talks about Madhyam Marga, which we'll study in ethics. Doctrine of mean, always find the mean path. Mean means not the negative mean. I'm talking about the average mean, that mean. Mean is also having many meanings. So informal economy. So informal, unorganized economy is the next crisis with respect to India. So like, for example, we have to know the difference between organized, unorganized, formal, informal. This is another area where people use those words interchangeably. Organized, unorganized is about how a firm is organized hierarchically. We are having companies, we are having firms. How the firm's functioning is organized, with that we are classifying them as organized or unorganized. So whether the firm is registered with the government, whether that firm is having a hierarchy, whether that firm is having detailed HR policy, or whether that firm is paying taxes. So how the firm is organized, whether they are having a hierarchy, whether they are having a command structure, all this, based on that we are classifying it as organized or unorganized. Formal and informal is based on the relationship between employer and employee. So the word formal and informal talks about the employer-employee relations. Unorganized, organized talks about the structure of the organization. So this is the difference between. Indian economy is informal economy, means most of the jobs, India is not having enough jobs. So unemployment is a crisis. But whatever jobs being created, those jobs are informal jobs. So informal, formal jobs means, what is a formal job? Formal job means it should have a detailed HR policy with a paid leave, casual leave, sick leave, with 8 hours of work on all social security benefits. 8 hours of work, 1 day week off or 2 day week off, with social security benefits like PF, pension, add insurance. All these things ensured is a formal job. There is no hire and fire. There will be a notice period. Even the employer cannot fire you, or even an employee cannot resign. They have to serve the notice period and resign. If they are going out, that changes from 1 month to 3 months based on companies to company. So few companies have 3 months, few companies have 1 month. Most of the IT companies have 1 month. A few TCS is having 3 months. So it depends. But still, all these things are part of the social security benefits. If everything is there, that is formal job. Informal jobs, nothing will be there. No fixed time, no fixed leaves, no fixed salary. Salary will not come on first. It will come on 15th or 20th. So all these things. So most of the jobs created are informal. That is our major structural problem. So how we are going to provide economic development? By solving all these things. So that is going to be the route to the economic development. Create formal jobs. Formalization of job government is running. Recently, they launched this scheme in 2015. Of course, 2015 is recent for us. That is the latest government's time. So, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protsahan Abhiyan, where they are aiming to formalize the jobs by incorporating the people earning 15,000 rupees worth jobs inside the provident funds. So, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protsahan Yojana. And they brought this e-Shram portal where they are asking the informal laborers to register, and through that portal they are planning to provide them the social sector benefits. Like government is running pension programs, Atal Pension Yojana, Kisan Mandan Yojana, Shram Yogi Mandan Yojana, Lagu Vyapari Mandan Yojana. All these things are pension programs run by the government. So when you are registered in a e-Shram portal, automatically government will ensure that those people who registered get this basic pension schemes, either in Atal Pension or whatever Lagu Vyapari or Mandan or whatever Mandan, Shram Yogi Mandan, they will be giving. And they are also running two insurance schemes. One is life insurance and other is death insurance. So they will be incorporating them under, that is Suraksha Bima Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana is talking about life insurance. Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana talks about accident or death insurance. And next we are having Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So Jan Arogya Yojana, PMJ, talks about health insurance. So government is providing three insurances: life insurance, accident insurance, and health insurance. And many pension schemes. And they are planning to formalize these jobs through all these schemes at a basic level. Then alleviation of poverty and hunger. We'll study, when we are studying poverty, we'll discuss about the list of schemes by the government to alleviate poverty. For all the 12 indicators of multidimensional poverty index, we'll have 12 schemes which government is implementing to alleviate the multidimensional poverty. For land fragmentation, just now we discussed cooperative farming. For disguised unemployment, we have to create employments in manufacturing so that we can. So how a person from agriculture will be shifted to manufacturing? One, we have to create more industries. You have to incentivize. That's why government is giving loans to MSMEs. Government is incentivizing industries a lot. But another important thing is skilling. Only if you skill people, those people will come and work. So that's why government is running Skill India mission. So you have to skill the people and create jobs so that these people are working in manufacturing. Next, then disguised unemployment will go. Then jobless growth will go. So all this PLI scheme and all these schemes is incentivized. Even during pandemic, how Indian economy recovered, if you see, government of India, they would have incentivized the firms rather than incentivizing the people. Like if you see in pandemic time in 2020, what are all the steps taken by the government to recover Indian economy from pandemic? If you see, government would have done a lot of supply side reforms. Supply side means providing immediate funds to the firms rather than giving direct benefit to the people. Instead of putting money directly in the hands of people, that we'll talk about fiscal stimulus or helicopter money, colloquially to term. Instead of doing the fiscal stimulus in the hands of people, government spent the money in two different areas. One, it was on giving loans, cheap loans to the MSMEs and to the firms. They brought this emergency credit line guarantee scheme. So that is one thing. Another thing was they tried to introduce the increase the capital expenditure. So we tried to increase the money supply. We tried to do the supply side reforms to recover the economy, because only if firms grow, more employment will be created. Because unemployment is the biggest crisis of India. So solving it is the major goal. So jobless growth. So all these things can be done. So this is the basic problems of Indian economy. Clear? So with this, almost we have come to the end of the session. So we have come to the end of the session now. So from morning, almost we started off at last 15 minutes to go. We started off at 10:15. So almost it's 2 now. Okay. So today it's 2 now. We'll go last 15 minutes. We'll discuss in general and I'll wind up by 2:15. So this is the plan. So tomorrow we'll be starting the session at 9 as everyone accepted. Everyone is okay with 9, right? So 9 o'clock we try to come here. I know it's cold, it's winter, but still, if you are coming by 9, there is a very big advantage that we'll end up by 1:30. So every day 4 hours class. If you are ending up by 1:30, you will be having the second half of the day for you. So that is the advantage. So try to come by 9. We will finish the class by 1:30 and you can go home for lunch. So this is the plan tomorrow. From tomorrow we'll have 9 to 1:30 classes, 4 hours class each day, and it will go till next Saturday. This Saturday, first 6 sessions, and next Saturday, next 6 days. So within this 12 days, I'll try to finish the basic core concepts and understanding whichever is needed for preliminary, through which you can easily attend those questions. So now if you see, of the 15 questions which is coming in preliminary, 10 questions are directly from fundamental static area. They'll just change a few numbers. If you are clear in the whatever topics which I listed, especially those 5 topics, you can easily get the 10 marks. So I'm not talking you will get 15 marks, all the economic questions right. If 15 questions are there, all 15 questions you will get right and you will get 30 marks. I'm not telling that. Let's focus on 20 marks. Those 10 questions is enough. If you are leaving those 5, that's okay. Out of 15, try to get 10. In all the 5 subjects, you try to get 10 out of 15. No need to get that 5. So we are thinking that we no need to score 200 out of 200 in preliminary. Our cutoffs are ranging somewhere between 85 to 95. That's it. So we'll just focus on 90. Let's keep 90 as the number. We'll focus on 90. If in every subject we get 20, automatically we'll get 100. So let's focus on those 10 questions. Let's not let's not be over ambitious to get all the 15. So those 10 questions can be attained if you are having good conceptual clarity. Okay. So this is the thing which you have to understand. Okay. So today we discussed about basic introduction and basic strategy and sources and all those things. Then we saw about we started off with the PYQs. What is the proportion of questions coming from each area and all those things we saw. We discussed the syllabus. Then we saw these 10 areas. So these are all the 13 areas which have to focus for economy preparations. We saw the sources. See, always give importance to the NCRTs. NCRTs are crucial. Study NCRTs and then study Indian economic development. But I suggested not to study macroeconomics. I don't prefer macroeconomics. Instead, you try 12th standard. Tamil Nadu's 12th standard economy book, which is very good. Any standard book, you can follow anything whichever you are following. If you are a senior candidate, if you are a first attempter, you finish these NCRTs. I'll share the notes. You see my notes. And then you can go to Shankar Ganesh or any standard books, whichever you want. Okay. But first finish the basics. Follow current affairs. Current affairs is very important because the rest of the questions are coming from there. First attempters don't spend time on reading economic survey. Just read the gist. That is more than enough. We are going to have these classes. These classes will continue in March. Only first part is going to end here. After economic survey and budget comes, I'll come again to Delhi and I'll discuss the session also. Okay. Then we started off with discussing the what is economy, what is macroeconomics and microeconomics, the basic differences, what is growth and development, what are all the types of economy, what are all this that is capitalist, state and mixed, what is the sectors of economy, primary, secondary and tertiary, and based on that how we are classifying economy. And then we saw about the nature of economy and problems of economy. So we just saw the basics today. So tomorrow when we are starting, we'll start off with the types of goods. So there are more than if you see capital goods, intermediate goods, all those things, if you see more than 13 to 14 types are there. I'll just give an idea about the first 2 types now and I'll wind up. Okay. So since we are having time, we'll do that. Okay. Next, other things we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay. Just a second. Okay. So tomorrow morning we'll start with the types of goods and we'll start with the national income from our first chapter. So there are many types of goods. Like I already said, some 14 types of goods we can list. We can also list many, but this 14 itself is too much. So of that first two types we'll discuss now. The first classification is difference between intermediary good and final good. So in GDP calculation, when you are studying about GDP, you'll use this word called total value of all goods and services produced in all final goods and services produced in an economy. If they are using this word final goods and services, then what is the meaning of final? Okay, then you have to understand there are certain goods which are final goods, there are certain goods which are intermediary goods. We have to understand the difference that. So let's go back to our supply chains. We started off with tea leaves. Tea leaves became tea powder. Tea powder were packaged and sold to restaurant, which in turn became hot tea, which was served. So when I bought the tea, I went home and I drank. Okay, this is the supply chain which we saw. So intermediary goods are those goods whose role in the economy is not yet over. Still value additions are going to happen. So all the goods whose role in the economy is not over and they are not finally consumed and still value additions are possible. Those goods with further value addition possible are called as intermediary goods. Those goods whose final consumption is done and no more value addition is possible, they are called as final goods. So intermediary goods are those goods whose value additions are still possible and the final consumption has not yet happened. Still they will be value added. So tea leaves are intermediary goods because they were converted into tea powder. Tea powder was intermediary goods because tea powder. So if you take tea powder here, the tea powder which is purchased by the tea shop is an intermediary good, but the tea powder which was purchased by me is a final good. The same tea powder can be both. So we are classifying intermediate and final based on who's consuming it. If a tea shop is buying a tea powder, then tea powder is intermediary good because the tea powder is going to become tea. Still value addition is possible. Still that is not the end consumption. This tea shop person is going to convert the tea powder into drinkable tea. This tea will be the final good by the end consumer. But if the same tea powder is purchased by me, I'll take home and I'll make and drink. I'm not going to resell it. So based on how it is being consumed, we are classifying it. So intermediary goods are those goods where the value addition is further possible. Still the role in their economy is not yet over, but final goods are those goods without no value addition and the role in economy is over. When the same tea powder is consumed by restaurant, it is called as intermediary good. When I consume, it is final goods. So all the raw materials are intermediary goods. Okay, all the consumer goods which a consumer is consuming, it is final goods. So final means that's it. The end consumer consumed it and its role is over. So that is final goods. So in GDP calculation, we will not take the intermediary goods in product method. In product method, we are just taking the final goods. Whatever goods which are finally consumed, only that we will be taking in GDP calculations. And we will not be taking the raw materials into account because that will lead to double counting. We'll discuss about that tomorrow when we are discussing national. This is the first classification of goods. So tomorrow we'll see the rest of the classification. Like I'll just list out what we are having: capital goods and consumer goods. Consumer goods are further divided into durable goods and non-durable goods. Then we are having inelastic goods. So inelastic goods are those goods which will not cater to the, which will not follow the demand curve. That is Veblen goods, Giffen goods, inferior goods. Then we are having complementary goods and substitute goods. This is one type. Then we will be having private goods and public goods. Then we are having free goods and monetary goods. And then we are having merit goods and demerit goods. These many types of classifications are there for the goods. And all these types of goods come under microeconomics. So we'll discuss that part of microeconomics tomorrow morning, and then we'll continue with the national income tomorrow. Okay. So with this, we'll wind up the today's session. Now, when you go out, you just join the Telegram channel. So in Telegram channel, I'll be posting my daily notes. Okay. I hope everyone attend the classes tomorrow. So we'll meet tomorrow morning. We'll join the Telegram channel. I'll post the notes. Thank you. If you're having any doubts, you can stay back and ask. Okay. So ma'am, you both join late. What is your name and introduce yourself? Shivani from which state and which attempt? Uttar Pradesh. Okay. This is your first attempt. Preparing. Okay. You ma'am? From Maharashtra. Already given attempt or first attempt? Okay. So if this is going to be the first attempt, then surely आपका economy इधर होएगा. economy is done, you can attend here. So people attending online, you can post your doubts in the chat. I'll answer your doubts there. Yeah, நாளைக்கு பார்ப்போம். அனு, இலக்கியா, மகி, சங்கவி. Okay. Okay, ma'am. Tomorrow, okay, like ma'am is telling tomorrow we'll have 10 o'clock session. From Wednesday we'll have at 9. Since for the first day we said it's open session, we announced that it's going to be 10 o'clock for both the days. So from to tomorrow also we'll have at 10 o'clock, 10 to the same timing whatever happened today. Tomorrow will start at 10 itself, so we can finish it by 2. The same pattern will continue. From day after tomorrow, from Wednesday we'll have it at 9. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Tomorrow will start at 10. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, online people.